Yo, what's up, everybody? It's Rick from Only Football bringing you another episode of Only Football brought to you by Star 6 Media. Kyle and I are going to be going over the crazy Super Wildcard weekend. We're going to go over our picks, and then we're going to move into playoff teams Q&A. So stay tuned for that.
What's going on? It's Super Wildcard weekend.
Super.
It's here. I'm Kyle. Who's that?
I think that's Rick. I'm Rick, and
that is Rick.
Who's that?
That's Kyle. Yeah, we got a lot to talk about. We got of course we have less football games, but there's just so much more to talk about within those football games. So less games, same amount of content coming at you guys, if not even more. We're going to go through our wild card games. We're going to do our predictions, and then we're going to do some Q&A about these teams in the playoffs, answering some of the biggest question marks that we have at this point. Are you ready, Rick?
I'm ready. I'm also getting ready with some Corona Seltzeritas.
Nice.
Corona, sponsor us, please.
Yeah, I'm drinking some. Wait a minute. What is this? This is nothing. This is
literally it's Kyle's can of piss. That's what it is.
It's sterile, and I like the taste. All right. Our first matchup, not to throw my prediction out there, I think we have the biggest lopside of all. We have the Seattle Seahawks going into San Francisco and playing a 49ers team that has won 10 games in a row, fellas. I mean, this is going to be a really, really difficult game for the Seahawks. They played them twice. This is in division. Mm-hmm. This is a division. They know them very well. They've lost both times. None of the games were particularly close. And I won't go first. What do you think about this?
Yeah, man. This is going to be a tough one for the Seahawks.
Does he write back? Does he write back?
He's going to write back this time. I think Geno Smith writes back this week. The Seahawks really – so let's look at some of the good things that the Seahawks have done. Geno hasn't written back in a bit, right? And he's really the reason, outside of the emergence of Kenneth Walker, that the Seahawks are here in the at least the wild card, right? This was a team at the beginning of the year, people were not expecting it all to be anywhere near the playoffs. They wouldn't be sniffing the playoffs. They thought, oh, okay, this is going to be a bad team, and they're going to be at the bottom of the NFC West. They're going to have like a really good pick. And not only that, they have the Broncos, but it's like the Broncos were going to be really, really good. So it didn't matter if they had the Broncos pick, right? So that's kind of what we were looking at with the Seahawks coming in. But look what they've done. Geno Smith didn't write back for the first few weeks. They got off to a really hot start with him. Pete Carroll's still there. The emergence of Kenneth Walker, like those are all big reasons why they're here. What's not to like about the Seahawks is that the defense, sure, they're good at taking away the ball, but they cannot stop the run. And what can the 49ers do? 49ers can run the damn ball, man. They can run the damn ball. They can pass the damn ball. They can do anything with the ball that they want to do. So this is pretty much, like you said, a lopsided win for the 49ers. I'm taking the 49ers all the way, man. The Seahawks don't stand the chance, especially in San Francisco against this really, really good team.
I completely disagree with you.
Yeah, right.
By the way, and we recorded before the NFL did this.
Yep.
The NFL released their power rankings the day after we recorded our podcast. Any guess at who
they
was at
did.
number 1?
The Bears.
Quite the opposite.
Oh, the number 1 pick doesn't mean the number 1
not
team?
that.
No. Oh, okay.
It was the 49ers. Now I took a lot of shit for saying that the 49ers were better than the Chiefs, and I get
As
it.
you should.
I
As
get
you
it.
should.
Patrick Mahomes. This 49ers team, you guys got it wrong. The NFL somehow got it right. They normally get it wrong. The 49ers are the best team in the NFL. They are you cannot play better football than they are playing right now. It is impossible. It is impossible. They can't get better at defense. Their passing defense can't get better. Their rushing defense can't get better. Nick Bosa can't play at a higher level. He has the sack. He has the most sacks, and he's 2.5 games less than Micah Parsons.
Mm-hmm.
Offensively, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but this is what they do. They run the ball 34, 36, 34, 26, 37, 27. That's the amount of attempts. Rushing yards, 121, 209, 170, 153, 170, 169.
Insane.
Shout out 169. So they are literally running the ball and getting almost 200 yards a game. They are averaging pretty damn good numbers to be getting that. So what I'm trying to say is, like, they're a physical team and they run the ball. And you've heard it before. If you want to be successful as an offense, run the ball first. Everything else opens up. The play action opens up because they have to respect the run. They can't sit back in a cover 6 and just chill. So you got them loading the box, and then all of a sudden Brock Purdy, who's throwing it 27 between 15. He had a game last week that they beat the Cardinals 42 or 41-13, whatever it was. It was a blowout. He threw the ball 15 times, Rick. 15 times for 142 yards. So we talked about this. Do you trust Brock Purdy going into a playoff game? Yeah. 33.5 points per game is pretty damn impressive. But when it's the playoffs and the lights are on and the Seahawks are coming in with Geno Smith, who's been in the league for 10 years, maybe not started a playoff game, but you kind of trust that confidence that he might come in with a little more than Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. But if Kyle Shanahan, if he wants to, Brock Purdy's going to throw the ball 15 times. And you saw that they can win by a margin of 30 points or more. Only throwing it 15 times. This is just insane what they're able to do. So you look at that, I would say, like, it doesn't really matter who they're playing because what they're doing, it works against everybody. Now, you could make an argument that they haven't played really tough opponents. They played the Jets, the Rams. They played the Rams twice. But they did play a couple teams that were tough. So, like, here's where, the rubber meets the road. Or here it is. That was Seattle. Sorry. They played Arizona, Las Vegas, Washington, Seattle, and Tampa Bay in Miami. So not like hard football teams. So do I expect them to bring this success in the playoffs? Not really. I do expect it to dial back a little bit, but that's okay. Their margin of victory right now is 20 points. So, like, dialing it back just means they win by, 10 to me. So, yeah, Seattle, no identity. They don't have consistent numbers like that. I read the rushes. I read the pass attempts. It's all within, 5 to 7. You look at the Seahawks, and there's games where you're like, they ran the ball 8 times in the entire game? And then you have games where there's 38 attempts. It's like, how do you even, like, have an identity when you don't even know what you're doing game in and game out? Like, the 49ers aren't trying to sneak up on you and be like, you don't know what we're going to do. We might run it. We might pass it. They're like, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah. You're not going to stop it.
You're not going to stop it. You can study. You can do whatever you want. It's not going to work. So I'm with you. I have the Seahawks as one of the most unfortunate teams going into wildcard round because if it were the Giants, I would say it's not going to be pretty. Seahawks,
It's not going to be pretty.
Dolphins. Yeah. I know the Dolphins are in the AFC, but it's not just the Seahawks that would be exposed by the 49ers.
Yeah.
They're just the unfortunate ones that are going to have to, travel to San Francisco this week. And there may be more in the future.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree. And for the Seahawks to get this far into the playoffs and to have the misfortune of playing a 49ers team that is just all around amazing, it's tough, but it's also like, hey, be happy that you're here after this rebuilding year, right? So they're fortunate in some areas, unfortunate in the fact that they have to play the 49ers. What I will say about the 49ers too, week 1, they played the Bears. They lost to the Bears. Trey Lance, that team, it was a monsoon. The Bears won that game. The 49ers lost that game. The last 10 weeks of the season, maybe 11 weeks technically because of bye weeks. Niners won 10 in a row. Bears lost 10 in a row. So there you go, right? Like it was just like, okay, the Bears beat the 49ers. Are the 49ers good? Well, they just won the last 10 games that they needed to get the number 2 seed. So the fun little stat for you guys.
Yeah, and the Broncos beat the 49ers too. The Bears beat the 49ers, then they beat the Seahawks week 2. Then the 49ers lost to the Broncos. This is a team that started 2-1, and I would be lying to you if I said I didn't watch that press conference with Kyle Shanahan after the game, and you'll never believe what they were asking. They were asking him if the fans wanted him to continue coaching.
Oh my God.
Because he started 2-1, and I believe they might have lost the next game as well. So
really?
Yeah, and this is the part of the 49ers that people forgot. They didn't get off to a fast start. The only other team to do what they did really is the Bengals. The Bengals didn't start hot as well, but when they started winning, they just never looked back. And I just, you had Trey Lance. If they had stuck with Trey Lance when Trey Lance played when they played the Bears, Trey Lance wouldn't be putting up these numbers. I don't believe that.
No.
And I don't believe Jimmy Garoppolo would be either. So the real question is, and we'll talk about that in a little bit, but why is this working so well for Brock Purdy? And is it because he doesn't come across as I watched him play. He doesn't come across as the most talented, gifted player in the room. The speed, he's got that thing, that the Mahomes-ness, the intangibles. He just reminds me of Brady.
I was going to say he might just be, one, he's a rookie. All he knows is the Shanahan offense. 2, he might be a system quarterback. You don't know. Nobody knows exactly what the deal is with Purdy. Nobody knows. We can speculate all we want. This is basically like saying this team is going to be good, this team is going to be bad in the preseason. It's all speculative. What I think the NFL knows is that Brock Purdy is very successful in the system. He's very successful under Shanahan, and he's very successful getting the ball to all basically the star players on this team. So definitely, I don't know what it is. It might be he is a diamond in the rough, last pick, Mr. Irrelevant, or he just might be a system quarterback. It's all up in the air. It really is.
It's just the pessimist in me is always thinking it's too good to be true. There is going to come a sobering wet blanket moment where he's going to go out there and it's going to be okay though. It's going to be okay. It's it doesn't matter, dude. Keep your head up, go get a beer. You earned that playoff game, whether you win or lose. But now if he goes in the playoffs and it seems like nothing's changing, we might have I'm not even bullshitting, our next Tom Brady. And
you never know.
That is something that he just never expected to say this year about Brock Purdy. So this is what makes the NFL the greatest sport in the world, in my opinion. So let's move on to another game that means a lot to 2 ball clubs, and we'll talk more about the implications later. Let's talk about the game. The Jacksonville Jaguars are playing host to the Los Angeles Chargers, who have earned themselves a playoff spot on the back of Justin Herbert, who has been playing spectacular. I mean,
spectacular.
He's been fourth. He almost had, what is that? 261 yards away from a 5,000 yard season.
Insane.
Those don't come easy. So
Mm-hmm.
Justin Herbert's doing something right. Austin Eckler, most touchdowns. The Jaguars are kind of good because they can score a lot of points. And Trevor Lawrence, we're so accustomed to there only being like 4 elite quarterbacks in the league, right?
Yeah,
Like we grew
really.
up in the Drew Brees, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, maybe
Mm-hmm.
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers. Like that's kind of how we grew up. So it's kind of weird to say like out of all these quarterbacks, right? Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert might be like what we grew up watching, because
Mm-hmm.
it's weird to say because we already know that Mahomes and Josh Allen, and there's all these matchups, but there just might be a lot of talented quarterbacks, right? I'm one of those
Mm-hmm.
people that believe like the sport and the athletes are getting better with time. I think the
Mm-hmm.
equipment gets better. I think the trainers get better. The science gets better. So I do think that, old school people would be like, they could never play in our era. And I'm like, you wouldn't be able to
Yeah.
catch our players. Like, could you imagine in 1965 if Tyreek Hill run a flat? Like,
Oh, it'd
what?
be over. It'd be
Yeah.
over.
So, yeah, it is weird to say, right? Knowing all of those other quarterbacks. But, Rick, this might be like a head-to-head matchup that we see almost every year that the NFL is purposely putting on the schedule, just because of the amount of views it'll get. Justin
Yeah.
Herbert, Trevor Lawrence. Who do you trust more in this?
This is a tough one. Now you're right. Like you said, this is the NFL is going to put it because of the views. And I think, look, the 49ers Seahawks game is going to get a lot of people watching, but this game with the Chargers and Jaguars, clearly probably the prime matchup that I think is going to overtake Saturday. You asked me, who do I trust more, Justin Herbert or Trevor Lawrence? I have no idea. And I will give some good things to the Jags and some bad things to the Jags and the same for the Chargers. Now the Jaguars, they went from 4-8 to the playoffs. They are in the playoffs right now, hosting a game as the number 4 seed, by the way, right? Lawrence, 15 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions in the last 9 games. And the defense playing out of their minds. That's the reason they're here, because the defense won them that Titans game. But they are an unproven team with little to no playoff experience. Really, it seems to be Doug Peterson is the only guy, right? Super Bowl ring. That means something to a team that is unproven in the playoffs, that hasn't been in the playoffs since 2016. Now, on the other side, you have the Chargers. Justin Herbert, phenomenal. He's got weapons up the ass, and he probably has weapons that are good, that are just as good, if not just a little bit less talented than like the Chiefs, the Bengals, the Bills. Like these guys are really, really good. If you put any of those guys, honestly, if you put any of these great offensive guys from the Chargers on any of these top AFC teams or even top NFC teams, they would be like, wow. They would be like, these guys are future Hall of Famers on this team. And the good thing about the Chargers is they have had some injuries all season. Joey Bosa, who was the cornerback they picked up, JC
Jackson, yeah.
Yeah, their left tackle. And they've and here they are, right? As a wild card, sure, but I mean it's hard to beat the Chiefs in the West, but they're here in the playoffs. They are very resilient and they're tough. The one thing that kind of kills them is just the fact that the Chargers beat themselves most games. The Chargers are going against the Chargers in like the fourth quarter most times, right? And Herbert, because I feel like the offense really, really relies on Herbert in the stretch, in like the witching hour of all that. So Herbert has a lot of pressure on him going into the end of those games. And then the rushing game just kind of falters. And now it's all like, all right, well, we don't have to really play the run game for the Chargers. We just have to make sure to play deep and make sure none of these guys get wide open. And that's why the Chargers beat themselves up sometimes. What I will say is I think the Chargers have it in them this time, and they beat the Jaguars and move on to the second week, to the division part of the playoffs. So I'm going to go Chargers here. They're going to take one from in Jax, just because the talent around Justin Herbert and the fact that it's like it's prove it time. Like it is definitely prove it time. You see Joe Burrow, you see Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson and Tua. Herbert, you're up next, man. You have to move on. Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars, great story. They're going to be very successful in the future, but it's Herbert's time now to prove that he is a playoff quarterback and that he can make runs in the playoffs.
Okay. First off, just want to say, moment of brutal honesty. I wet the bed till I was 12 years old. I wore pull-ups.
I'm gone. I'm leaving. I'm out of here.
Forgive my bathroom breaks. I literally can't hold it. So, all right. I'm going with the Jaguars.
Wow.
I'm going with the Jaguars. The Jaguars are at home. Now, I've said it a million times. You got a game that's kind of a toss-up. All right, tell me who's at home. Okay, The Jaguars, they don't have the strongest home field advantage. This isn't like going into Pittsburgh or like Lambeau, even though that hasn't helped much in the past. But what they do have is this. They have the power of optimism, which I've seen win football games. I saw it in 2010 when Tim Tebow beat the Steelers in Denver, and we had no business even being in the playoffs, and we won against Mike Tomlin and Big Ben. And I saw the Jaguars do this with David Garrard against the Steelers, unfortunately, as well. If you're a Steelers fan, that happened. Two of my examples are the Steelers, but my point is the crowd is going to be so excited and so filled with optimism that I feel that they're really going to kind of carry that momentum as a team. Now, they did play earlier in the season, and there may be some telling signs of a mismatch. They lost 38-10, the Chargers. So the Jaguars have already rolled the Chargers. Now, the Chargers are the favorite via DraftKings, -3. Shout out DraftKings. But I'm looking at the Jaguars playing at home. I'm looking at Trevor Lawrence, who's played in a lot of meaningful games. I'm going to say this. We talk about the books overcompensating. I think that the world is overcompensating because what they saw from Jacksonville last week was not warm and fuzzy. Okay?
Yeah.
I would argue the difference, or I would argue something different. I think that is kind of a warm and fuzzy. Does Trevor Lawrence have that kind of a game twice in a row? I don't think so. I really don't. I know Mike Vrabel's got the #1 rushing defense. The Chargers don't. Okay? They're going to be able to run the ball. They're going to be able to pass the ball. I think their edge rushers are going to be the kind of make or break it. Will the Jaguars be able to put pressure on Mahomes? If they can do that and they can get some points on the board, I actually think this game might turn out to be one of the most fun games in Wildcard Week. I don't have this being like the Titans game, 16-20. No, I think this could be like 27, 28, 35, 34. Like this is going to be a close game. There's going to be a lot of points scored in it. Naturally, you just have two offenses that are going to probably, because what we've seen from Trevor Lawrence is that he can't get anything going, and then he's down 21 in the fourth quarter, and he can throw 3 touchdown passes in 7 minutes. Trevor Lawrence does
insane.
Yeah, he responds really well to pressure, and when you're in the playoffs, even being down by 3 is way more pressure than a regular season game. So you're going to have Trevor Lawrence playing in peak state the whole game. The Chargers score 7. You're going to get Trevor Lawrence coming out in that type of state where he's going to do 7. Herbert answers back. Jaguars answer back. And that's how I get this shootout going. I do think it comes down to the wire. I think it's going to be one of the best games wild card. Give me the home team and give me a
No.
Oh,
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No Duval. No Duval
you gotta love it.
in the divisional round. Absolutely not. But hey, again, like I said, this is going to be probably the best game. The 49ers Seahawks might be a blowout, but again, we've seen crazier things happen. But this is probably going to be the best game of that Saturday slate. Maybe even, honestly, maybe even this entire wild card round. Who knows?
I think it will be. I think there's only one other game we'll get to Monday night that
For
is
sure.
up against that. So let's move on to, we just spoiled it, some of the more boring game. I'm just kidding. Let's talk about the Tua-less Dolphins. Tua has been ruled out. Okay, that is news. We are a news channel. There you go. There will be no Tua this weekend. The Dolphins are screwed. I don't know how else to say it. They are not going to go into Buffalo and win. I would love to like draw this out, but it's not necessary. Not for us, not for our fans, not for anybody. The Dolphins barely beat the Jets that were playing, Sam who whatever. Joe Flacco. Skylar Thompson. Oh my God.
Oh, wait, the Jets. No, it was Jets. Flacco. You're right.
Flacco,
right.
Yeah. So, why would the Dolphins be able? Can you just give me one reason why the Dolphins would be able to even make this game competitive, please?
Not the only thing, but the three things that can do it: Mike McDaniel, Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle. That's
With
it.
Who?
And that is the very downside. The only glimmer of hope, the only light at the end of the tunnel is those three guys maximizing who they have, what they can do in this game. That's it for the Dolphins. You're right. You were 100% correct. I've got the Bills beating the Dolphins. This should be easy. The Bills have such a good matchup against the Dolphins. The Dolphins defense is absolute garbage. Right? It's not even a question as to whether they're any good. They're here basically on the offense. They're here. They're in the playoffs. The Dolphins are in the playoffs because of Tua and Mike McDaniel.
Yes.
The Bills,
I would say two or more.
Yeah, definitely two or more. Absolutely. And then, obviously Tyreek having almost 2,000 yards receiving definitely helps. He's a weapon. And so is Jalen Waddle, probably one of the best wide receiver duos in the league for sure.
When there's a good quarterback.
When there's a good quarterback, really. And again, those guys are the only light at the end of the tunnel in this game because the defense is bad. And even though the Bills turned over the ball 27 times this year, and that is ranking bottom of the league with some of the worst teams in the league, right? Especially in the red zone. The only thing is, that's why this matchup is perfect. Because the defense on the Dolphins side sucks. It's garbage. It is not good.
I don't think they're terrible though. I mean,
but
they do have good safety blitzes and stuff like that. But
I think in the playoffs though,
it's just
worse defense.
It's not gonna, without an offense, a defense will get even the Broncos defense gave up 50 eventually. It was
eventually though.
You carry, and then eventually you get nothing, and you're fatigued. It's just so. I'll say this: two things can be true. Tua should absolutely not be in this game. He is not clear to play. Period. End of story. So don't twist this part. Man, it would be nice if Tua was in this game. We saw Tua play the Bills on week 3, and the Dolphins win. And then that last game we got where we were live for it, man, did we get our it's free, but did we get our time worth, I guess, on that? Because that game was incredible. The snow, the Josh Allen laying out. I mean, it just shows you how you look at the books with Bills 13-point favorites, right? That is about as far as the books will ever go. So the fact that there's a 13, it's the playoffs. There's not supposed to be any 13-point favorites, right? But I wouldn't burn the house down. Okay.
Yeah.
Tua, we've seen the Dolphins play really well, and we've seen what the Dolphins playing their best football and the Bills playing their best football look like. And the Bills almost lost that game.
Yep.
Like, don't have short-term memory because Tua hasn't been on the team. And don't go into the offseason and be like, "Whoa, Tua's not the long-term answer. That's why the Dolphins wanted Brady." Tua did just fine. Tua did exactly what you need him to do. Mike McDaniel and Tua are a great team. I would keep Tua if he's healthy enough to keep playing this very dangerous sport. But unfortunately, that's not the matchup we're getting. I mean, if you would have shown me this week 4, I would have been like, damn, grab your popcorn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just not going to be that way. And you almost, you wish that they do somehow find a way to make it competitive. I don't really like seeing teams just get annihilated in the playoffs. It makes me feel like, man, I wish a different team was in that position, because the Dolphins were in this position because of Tua. So without Tua, it almost feels like the Dolphins shouldn't be in this game, period.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the Bills, again, I'm taking the Bills. I'm assuming you're taking the Bills as well.
Yeah.
I don't think that was, I probably shouldn't have even asked that question. But yeah, the Bills, I just can't emphasize enough how much of a great matchup this is for the Bills. They may get Von Miller back, right? Like, that may be a possibility, although I don't think they've ruled him in officially, because they're probably like, hey, bro, I think we're going to make it pretty far, so let's wait.
I think they said the AFC Championship is the earliest he could flirt with coming back.
Okay. So that would be huge. And the loss of him was huge for this team, was huge for this defense. That's a leader. That's a guy that you know very well in Denver, that the Rams know last year. Yeah, there you go. That the Rams know last year was a leader and one of the reasons they won, right? So it's just so great for the Bills to have this matchup, let's be honest, right, against the Dolphins. And real quick, before we move on, I just want to say cheers to Tyler. He is in the chat. So he's got, for the first wild card weekend, he's taking 49ers over the Seahawks, Chargers over the Jaguars, Bills over the Dolphins, Vikings over Giants, Bengals over Ravens, and Bucks over Cowboys. And if you guys are watching us live right now, throw your picks in. We'll read them out loud on the show. But Kyle, did you have anything else on the Dolphins?
Over the Cowboys. We'll get there.
Do you have anything else on this game?
No, I got nothing else on this game. Our next game is we're back to a 3-point favorite. I won't tell you who it is, but I'll tell you who's going to be in it. The New York Giants and a man with double the size of a regular man's ball sack. I'm talking about double the size.
Double.
It is going in to Minneapolis to play the Vikings.
Play the skull.
I don't really know what to do with this, because we saw this game 3 weeks ago, and if it weren't for a 56-yard, I think it was 57, honestly, crazy game-winning kick. Actually, the game was tied. It would have went in overtime, and the Giants did have to get a last-second drive and then a 2-point conversion. So, I mean, you could twist it that the Giants probably wouldn't have been able to do that twice, and it's more likely that the Vikings just win. It's a playoff game. I'm going to go with the Vikings.
So you're taking the Vikings.
I'm taking the Vikings. I'm taking Delvin Cook to run the ball. I'm taking Justin Jefferson to come back to life. I'm taking Kirk Cousins. Like, when this team's good, they're good. Okay.
Yep.
And they don't have to be great to beat the Giants. They have to be better than the Giants, to put it that way. And I think they can definitely, reach down into their pockets and pull out some competitiveness to go out there in front of their fans. That is a tough place to play. And I've seen that place, dude. Those are some loyal fans. Those are some good fans. I went into 7-Eleven and bought this Gatorade Fit. It's got like 10 calories. Extremely good. Vikings guy comes in with a sweater. We're in Washington. So their fans, they're everywhere. They're down 33-0. Fans stayed. Fans didn't leave. I've been to a Miami playoff game in Game 6 where fans left. And then they came back and won with Ray Allen shooting the 3. Great game. But
Only football, Kyle.
Only football. Only stupid.
Where's the helmet? Put the helmet on.
I just think that the Vikings have firepower, and the Giants are going to be competitive, sure, but I would take the Vikings to win by more than 3.
Okay.
Little gambling tip. If you're, it doesn't cost much to throw that in there. People care about that.
True. What I will say about the Vikings, they're at home, and I can see why you'll take them, right? This is actually a tough one for me, and not even the fact that these guys are like two amazing teams going toe to toe. Who knows what's going to happen? It's just kind of like, well, which of these teams are we going to see in this matchup? Is it going to be the good Giants or the bad Giants? The good Vikings or the bad Vikings? The Vikings, like you said, have all those weapons: Dalvin Cook, Justin Jefferson, to an extent, Kirk Cousins. I just don't trust that defense, man. This is a defense that has allowed anywhere between 20 and at least 40 points in like the last 8 games of the season, somewhere in that range, right? Like at minimum, they're letting up 20 points.
Yeah.
This defense is not good. The Dolphins defense is really bad. And this Vikings defense, I would put second worst defense in the playoffs. So the Giants,
are you saying, don't think about thinking about touching it.
Don't think about it. That's actually exactly what I'm saying. For the Giants side, right? 7-2. You mentioned Dable, the size of a regular man's nuts. You got that coach there. A guy who started the season off 7-2 with this team, made Daniel Jones a legitimate offensive threat with his feet, sure, but a legitimate offensive threat. You couple that with Saquon Barkley having a revival in his career, and it's just like, oh man, this Giants team, right? They're looking good at 7-2 right now. Flip over to the bad Giants, and what else do they have outside of Saquon? If you don't establish the running game with Saquon, does Daniel Jones have a shot to make moves with his legs? No, they'll probably rush him. They'll probably blitz him play after play after play. Throw the ball, Daniel Jones. I don't care. You have to beat us with your legs. We will absolutely take that. And that's what happens when you really do take away the run on this team. He has no receivers. Daniel Jones he is not a quarterback in the passing sense of the game today. So it's just like the Giants can be one-dimensional, and they can be zero-dimensional if you take that run game away. They are pretty good, I believe, at taking the ball away on defense. But I don't know, man. I don't think this Vikings team really turns it over that much. So you're looking at two teams that are kind of like, yes, they can be good, but they can also be really bad if this happens or that happens. So this is probably the most, I do want to say this is probably the most even one, if not the Chargers and Jaguars, this game, probably the most evenly matched game of the wild card. But I think, like you said, I'm gonna have to go Vikings, man. They're at home. I'm taking the home team with this one. So I'm taking the Vikings to actually move on to the divisional round.
Okay. Well, I understand. I mean, we got the same team, obviously, but one thing to keep in mind is wild card week. There's always one game that is just, unfortunately, it's a blowout, right? I mean, not like we know the Bills, but that's a unique situation. If it was a healthy Dolphins team, I wouldn't pick that Bills. So that's just a special situation. So just cancel that. I'm talking about like games that are supposed to be close. So
talking about practice.
I'm talking about practice, man. I think that this Vikings game could be the unlikely blowout. I think it could be like, I would not be shocked if and of course I will see the whole game, but if I had to run somewhere for like the whole first half and came back and it was like 24-3, I would be like, okay, like I wouldn't be like, how? Like if Seattle was beating the Niners, I would be like, boom.
What?
This is not like that feeling for me. It would be like, oh, Minnesota had a good day at the office and the Giants are sucking.
Oh
It
yeah.
just kind of like could go that way, but we'll see. We'll see. That's what makes it fun, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
playoff football is the best football.
Yeah.
So we both got the Vikings on that one. Lamar Jackson, his status is still in doubt.
Yep.
They're going against the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is nearly impossible to pick with the information that I just gave you. That Lamar Jackson status is in doubt. Let's do this. So we're on the same page. Let's just
Yeah.
call this game
Mm-hmm.
as if Lamar's playing, if you want, if you're comfortable with that. Because
I'm
I
down for
do
that.
believe Lamar will play. And I don't think they want to give like kind of a coaching heads up. I want them. He probably wants the Bengals to have to like use the practice squad for. But John Harbaugh's an extremely well coach.
Yes.
He won't even tell you who's returning punts. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna keep his cards close. And it just gets too confusing if we start. But if they do this, so
Yeah.
let's just have a common denominator here. The
Yep.
Lamar Jackson's going to be playing, and the Bengals are going to be the home team here. I'm going to
Yep.
go with the Bengals.
Yeah.
I think that this game could be a very competitive game. I think that the books right now, 8.5. I would say get in.
Mm-hmm.
And grab the Baltimore Ravens. I don't have the Bengals winning by 8.5 against Lamar Jackson. I think this is going to be a close, hard-earned game, but I think the Bengals are going to be able to force turnovers. We don't know what Lamar Jackson's coming. Is
Yep.
it Lamar that is going to be at full speed doing, Lamar Jackson MVP of the league stuff? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it going to be a Lamar Jackson that's kind of hesitating, doesn't want to re-injure things, not able to make some of those cuts? It's an ankle injury, right? So if
Yep.
you've ever, I sprained my ankle so bad one time that I literally heard it snap. I was skateboarding and it
Oh my
snapped.
God.
And I literally was crawling on my hands and knees, and just the weight of it hanging, but because I couldn't walk, just
Yeah.
the weight of it hanging hurt so bad. I was
Oh
crippled,
my God.
literally crippled. So like
Yeah.
you went out before that injury, I thought a player's not playing with a sprained ankle. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Ankle?
Yeah.
Sprained ankle? Get in the game, man. Like,
That shit hurts though.
yeah, if you really have sprained an ankle, like you hurt it, like bad, 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 bad.
Yep.
It is not something that you can just recover from. And obviously, because of the time Lamar Jackson has taken off, it is pretty safe to assume that he snapped his ankle in a bad way. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just going to take some time for him to even trust it again. And I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. He's playing really good football right
Yeah.
now. The Bengals are the hottest team maybe in the AFC. You can make an argument. I do think that they were on pace to beat the Bills in that game that we saw end shortly for a really sad reason. They came out, they scored on the first drive. The Bengals are at home. They're going to have their fan base behind them. I think their
Mm-hmm.
offense is going to be explosive. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, I think it's involved.
Yep.
Don't forget about Jamar Chase. Mixon's coming back. There's a handful to deal with, and the Ravens just aren't playing their best football going into the playoffs, which what would be required to
Mm-hmm.
consider Baltimore. I would need to see Baltimore on a 4-game win streak, kind of beating teams pretty good. And I'd be like, we got a good game. I don't know. But in this scenario, I think Baltimore could potentially in the future be more competitive in this division with Lamar Jackson, but I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's this year with the way the Bengals are playing.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start off with too, man. Like I've got the Bengals in this. If we're going with Lamar Jackson's playing, I'm still going with the Bengals. They're on an 8-game win streak. Like you said, the hottest team in the AFC heading into the wild card weekend. And they've got all the offensive weapons you could ask for. You couldn't dream of the offensive weapons the Bengals have. You couldn't fathom this. You couldn't make a trade to get all of them on Madden. You know what I mean? Like it's ridiculous who they have. Joe Burrow, Mixon, Chase, Boyd, T. Higgins. It's stupid.
The Philadelphia Eagles have entered the chat.
it's just dumb how good offensively they are. And the only things that's going into this playoffs for the Bengals, it's kind of like, is they have had injuries on the O-line and a cornerback. but that's not even enough to give the Ravens even an edge over this. What I will say about the Ravens, though, that defense is really good. It is really good. Ever since they got Roquan Smith, and even before that, they have veterans, they have young playmakers. They got these
Kyle
guys.
Hamilton out of Notre Dame somehow got him. He was supposed to go top 5 overall. They got him at like 25.
Yeah, I remember that draft too, when they were like, "Oh, this guy was supposed to go top," and there he is with the Ravens, and he's making plays. Ever since they got Roquan Smith, I think they hit only 2 games, maybe 2 or 3 games where they've allowed the opposing team to go over 20 something points. The other 7 games in that same span since they got Roquan Smith, they gave up an average of 11 points per game. That's insane. This Ravens defense is like old school defense. This is like Ed Reed, Ray, what's his name?
Ray Lewis.
Ray Lewis. This is that type of defense. They are good because they do have that experience with the veterans and they have the young guys playing very well. But that's the only thing that the Ravens have. Given Lamar Jackson is playing, Mark Andrews is probably still out. And now let's say Lamar Jackson isn't playing. Their offense is almost non-existent at this point. They have a couple running backs who can make some plays, but even then, man, the Bengals defense is playing really, really good and is probably one of the more underrated defenses in this playoffs. So they're just going to shut shit down. And yeah, that's why I'm taking the Bengals, man. It's just that they have the much higher upside. And I think that's with or without Lamar Jackson in this game.
Yeah. Man, did the Ravens and Bengals, they played right before Lamar went out, I believe.
Oh, well, Lamar went out in week 13, so I'm pretty sure there was a division.
The Broncos.
Oh, didn't they play week 1? Didn't the Ravens beat them week 1?
Week
Oh, no, that was the Pittsburgh Steelers. Never mind.
No, that was the Jets. They played October 9th, and the Ravens won 17-19.
Ravens won?
Yeah, and that was with Lamar Jackson.
Okay.
So, I mean, the Ravens, obviously, they've just been bad. Their last games they played since Lamar got hurt, 10 points, 16 points, 3, 17, 6, or 13, and then 16. Mm-hmm. So they did just play last week. The Ravens played the Bengals, and the score was 16-27. I don't know if any of them played like starters or if Joe Burrow was even out there, but when the season actually started, Ravens 38, 37, 20, 19. Mm-hmm. You do see
down.
Yeah. You do. So you have more points with Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. That's why I said the 8. I would take the 8 because like if Lamar's out there making plays, mm-hmm. Then I do think like the game could stay close. But I agree with you. You got to go with there's just more upside with the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Like you could blink and be down,
yes.
Comeback amount of points. So
absolutely. And the Ravens aren't a team. I think we've talked about a few teams in the league, during the regular season, where if they're down 2 score, unless you're like the Chiefs or one of those teams, Eagles, one of those teams, you're looking at that 2-point deficit or that 2-score deficit, and you're like, shit, that's it, huh? We're going home.
Exactly. All right. So this is our final game. And we got to enjoy this because it's going to get to a point in just 2 weeks where we're going to have 2 football games to talk about.
Yes. Yep.
It'll be the Chiefs and the Bengals or the Bills.
Yep.
And then the NFC, we have no idea. So let's talk about that Chargers. wild. Stop it. Let's talk about that wild NFC. The Dallas Cowboys. They're going to play the Buccaneers, and they're going to host this game because they've won their division. So you have an 8-9 team hosting a 12-5 team. All right. Well, the Buccaneers, they have Tom Brady. Their last game was their best game of the season with Tom Brady. Mike Evans, 3 touchdowns. So they did leave a little little taste in your mouth that is this for real? And we don't have answers to those questions because it ended right there. It was like we got really close and it just stopped. And then the playoffs start. And we just are like, okay, is that even repeatable? Was it a fluke? And we get no answers coming into this game.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, you look at Dallas and they played probably, Skip Bayless put it this way. He's been a fan for the team for about 51 years, dating himself.
Yeah.
He said it was the ugliest game that he has ever seen. I think they had like 1 first down in the game. They had their starters out there against Sam Howell. And then the week before that, nothing better. Like these last couple weeks, stretch of weeks, we saw them lose to the Jags too. The expectations were really high at one point for Dallas. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But you could safely say at this point, Dallas, if they were a stock, like they were here and now they're like they're not like on a slow decline, right? They their dip was like one where you wake up the next day and you're like, oh my God, I should have sold high.
Yeah.
Like, it is a really bad thing right now. And is it going to come back to them? Are they going to be able to use those weapons and snap out of it and play football like we've seen in the Bucks? Are they going to be able to repeat what they did against the Cowboys?
Yeah.
And if this game is close, are both teams playing well or are both teams bad? Like, which one is it? Because you could see a close game and both things can be true. Why do you think it's hard to pick games between, the Texans and the Bears or something this year? You're just like, ooh, because, teams that are bad, they keep close games. You don't know what's going to happen. That's how this game feels. Like, this game isn't hard to pick because both teams are just freaking incredible. This game's hard to pick because both teams don't have an actual identity for us to base our pick off of.
They're completely unpredictable.
You have no, like, that's my pick. Punch it. It's over. I don't even need to watch the game. Like, you don't feel like that. Now, Tom Brady is worth talking about a little extra time because he's 45.
Oh, yeah.
He is going to want to make sure that he came back this year to prove to the world he's going through a divorce. Now, as a person that knows what that's like, you always are looking for opportunities to stick it to the man. And I think he really wants to win a playoff game. If he goes into the playoffs as the worst record and then is one and done, it kind of feels like, I can already imagine the memes. Like, imagine trading your wife and kids for an 8-9 season. And what, like, people are going to be, people suck. People are going to be mean. They have no idea what his personal life was like. But the point is, Tom is going to want this game maybe more than any game he's ever wanted. And I'm not kidding. I think Tom Brady at home could. Can you?
This is tough for me too.
Yeah, I think Tom Brady at home. Give me the Bucks.
Taking the Bucks.
Give me the Bucks.
Final answer? Final answer?
Now, the Cowboys should win, but I don't. I'm picking the team. The Cowboys should. Here's one of those. The Cowboys should win, but the Bucks will.
My heart.
No, the Cowboys should win this game. On paper, they should, but the Bucks are the team that I'm taking to win. If that makes more sense, this will be one of those like, how did the Cowboys not win this game? Very hard questions to be answered. We'll get into some of that stuff, but I don't think the best talent, the most talented team is going to win in this game. And that's why I'm taking the Bucks. Taking this.
Taking
the heart.
I was like, the Broncos.
The Broncos?
I was like, no, that's not a Buck. That's a Bronco. Good.
Have you seen really quick sidebar? Have you seen Daddy's Home 2?
I don't think I have.
It's with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, where they're like stepdads.
No, I didn't see that one. I think I saw some of the first one.
He like grabs Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell, and he's like, "Look in the mirror. The only one that you need to impress is the man in the mirror." And he's looking in the mirror, and he sees Will Ferrell, and he's like, "But I see you in the mirror." And it's like he's supposed to see himself, but the angle of the mirror is showing
this right here. The Broncos?
the Broncos.
Yeah.
No, the behind that.
Let me take my shirt
Yeah.
off.
Again?
Yeah. I'm struggling the same way you are. Because there's things that are the same here on both teams, right? Like Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl, Bowles won a Super Bowl, sure, not as a head coach, but he won a Super Bowl with this Tom Brady team. Brady has not played well really at all this season. There's been games where he has impressed, where you're just like, oh, there's the Tom Brady of old, right? Dak has most games, maybe most, I would say maybe most, played really well. And then there's some games where you're just like, what are you doing, dude? Where is your mind at right now?
Yeah, you're a bum right now. Like,
Yeah.
that's the only way to say it.
Both of these teams, their offenses can show like we are killing you right now. We are scoring 40 plus, 50 plus. And then there's games where you're just like, where is the offense? Did it show up? I forget. Do you guys have players? The Cowboys are like good Dak and bad Dak. Bad Dak threw 11 interceptions, and I think it was tied in the league lead for that in the season. Good Dak scored 33 points or something like that on the Colts in the fourth quarter to win by like
or the Vikings.
50, was it the Vikings? No. The Vikings, they beat them like 40-3. The Colts, they beat them 54-19.
Did they really?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. It's like, holy shit, Dak is incredible. And yeah, you also look at Ezekiel Elliott, look at Pollard, but it's like, you know, this is a passing team too. And then you look at the Bucks, and you're like, Tom Brady is the greatest quarterback in the NFL. How can I bet against this guy? But then you also look at like, what has Bowles done this year? He has made some questionable calls as a head coach. And this is a guy that won the Super Bowl with him. It's not any different. This is the same offensive guy. So, and I just don't know, man, because
that game. Yeah. The Sunday night game.
Yeah. And on top of that, the defense for the Cowboys hasn't been as good as it was at the beginning of the season. It just hasn't. What I will say is I think this is one of those games where the Cowboys do not cowboy and they actually get the win against Tom Brady, and you're going to see the memes come out on Monday night. Imagine going through 2 divorces, one with Bill Belichick, just to go 8-9 and, you know, lose against the Cowboys of all teams. I'm going with the Cowboys in this one. I think we're going to see good Dak, but I think we only see good Dak in the first half. And then the second half, the defense holds enough, and they hold on a last fourth quarter like touchdown drive against Brady. I think they get an interception against Brady on a last second fourth quarter drive for Brady. Brady has had so many, and I think this is going to be the one where it's like, thanks for playing, Tom. We'll see you next year.
Yeah, and I see that. I could see that. The the Tom Brady that we've grown up to know is a guy that plays with an immeasurable amount of fire and passion. And a lot of people kind of get steered the wrong way from it. Oh, he's always bitching and throwing tablets, whatever. I mean, Tom is Tom. Like he's fired up and he wants to win, and he can afford to break tablets. Unfortunately, people don't like that. So like when I think about Tom this year, I think about Brock Purdy destroying him. And I think about Tom standing at the 50-yard line and shaking Purdy's hands, and then staying there and signing jerseys for the players on the 49ers team.
Yeah.
And I think about kind of this like older, more calm kind of I'm just kind of, you know, when you have a family and stuff, it's like, you know, work and then get home to the family. He almost seemed like kind of like, I'm in no hurry to go anywhere. I have nothing. Like I'll stay at midfield and meet players all day. And just he just seems so calm and kind of like, just the fire wasn't really like there. I loved it. Like I watched that and I was like, man, I like Tom Brady a lot now
Yeah.
because it just showed true sportsmanship. But early in his career, you saw him walk straight to the locker room after losing. I don't like that either, but I will say I think that's the Tom Brady that needs to show up. I think Tom Brady needs to leave, kind of all that emotional stuff just at home, and he needs to come in as vintage Tom. I want to see him screaming. I want to see him screaming at players, coaches, refs. I don't care. I want to see Tom screaming, cussing, scoring
Yeah.
touchdowns. I want to see some fire out of Tom. And I think it's possible that he's just gotten to a point where he's like, look, I'm old. LeBron James doesn't even play a whole game. It's they measure his minutes. He might be like, look, I'm measuring my passion. I can't be like that all season anymore. I just had to be calm and collective and kind of like keep your friends closer and your enemies closer type deal. Just shaking hands with Purdy and everybody. And right when you think you got Tom figured out, that other guy shows up.
Yeah.
And I think for the Bucks to win this game, they're going to need to make a phone call to the other guy, and that will be the difference in this game. We need old Tom Brady in this game.
And I
got goosebumps just saying that. I'm so weird.
And here's the thing, though, the shit like this happens because I remember, like, and this is me when I was like a kid, like I was in high school. This is one of those things that comes to me where I was like, at one point, I really wanted to be like an actor. Right. And I went to this like audition thing, and basically they had like a ton of people there. They give you an ad. They're like, you're going to read this, sound as whatever as you could as like a commercial. And my mom was like there with me. And I the whole time before I go up there to read, because there's a bunch of people in front of me, I look like shit. I'm just tired. I don't even want to, I really don't want to be there. It's early, just being a fucking teenager.
Yeah.
I go up there and I turn it on. I turn it on for the ad read, whatever it is, right? I turn it on. I get off and my mom's like, wow, you looked like you were not going to do what you just did, because you went from this kid who's just like slumping in his chair doing this to reading this really, really well. And just like almost like in a sense, like just like, wow, that I didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
This stuff happens. A person is capable of this. Tom Brady is absolutely capable of this. I just don't think it's going to happen in this game. I think the Cowboys are going to do enough. I think Mike McCarthy does a sufficient amount of fuck ups to where he doesn't lose the game. That's where I think this game is going to go. And that's why I'm going with the Cowboys. But yeah, man, it's true. You can go the whole season kind of not being at 100%. But then you get to a game like this, you get to the playoffs, and you're like, I'm playing at 100% and watch me do it.
Yeah. He's watching like Friday Night Lights or something. Like I bet Tom Brady is probably like watching the movie he watched in high school to pump him up for football. Just to like, man, I love this game. He needs to fall in love with this opportunity. This is, mark my words, okay? This will be the highest rated Monday night football game ever. There will never, up to this point, be that many views. I'm talking, there's going to be millions and millions of people tuning in.
I can see that.
It's going to be fun, man. It's going to be fun.
And, going back to like the Chargers and Jaguars game being probably one of the most watched, right? Like maybe Saturday through Sunday, that'd probably be the most watched. Cowboys and Bucks Monday night, everyone's tuning in. I think everyone's tuning in. It's going
to be a lot of...
Huh?
I would say there's going to be a lot of people at work hungover on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. This is, like you said, is probably one, the most watched Monday Night Football game, two, the most watched of Wildcard weekend. So yeah, man, it's going to be a great Wildcard weekend of football. I'm so excited for our first playoff postseason doing this podcast. It's just like tuned me in even more, right? Like it's just like that much more intense.
I was born for this.
Yeah,
I was
and
born for
obviously,
this.
so like if you've caught our earlier episodes too, I won't unfortunately I won't be able to stream any Saturday games. Kyle might be taking that duty,
Yes.
but I will be here for. I'm hoping two of the Sunday games, if not maybe like one and a half. Either way, I will probably most likely be here for the Ravens and Bengals, like 100%. And then Monday night, for sure, we will be there to stream. So Kyle is going to have a very busy weekend of football. And to be honest, let's be honest, Kyle, you wouldn't have it any other way.
No, it's gonna be awesome. I mean, I might lose my voice, but I mean, just to be able to
Drink a lot of tea.
drink a lot of tea, just to be able. I mean, these are all must-watch games.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited, and even a 49ers one, right? It'll just be exciting to see if Brock Purdy can continue what he's
Yeah.
done in the regular season, the postseason. Like if
Oh,
he
yeah.
goes out and it's 21 points in the second quarter, like that is a moment where you're going to be like, I'm glad that I'm watching this happen because this is like, you know, Tom Brady's been in the league for how many years? I mean, he's 45 years old. He's been in for probably like 22 seasons now,
Yep.
which means he's been playing for 22 years. So like I might be getting close to 50, and Brock Purdy could be in the league. And I could be like,
Yeah.
I remember the playoff game that he flipped the switch. And that is the history of football that you just don't want to miss. And you won't miss it with us. So definitely
Absolutely.
tune into that.
Definitely tune in. And as always, again, if you guys are joining us, thank you for joining us on this live stream today with Kyle and I going over the wild card weekend picks. Going to move into our other segment here shortly, but real quick, Only Football brought to you by Star 6 Media. Again, thank you guys for joining. Not too long ago, we were under 100 subs on YouTube. We have surpassed that, and we thank you guys, the viewers, the people listening, everyone who subscribed. We're at almost 150 now. And we'd really like for our Instagram to get up to at least 100 now. Our Instagram's our next 100, our next century mark. So if you want to follow us down there in the ticker, you can follow us at Star6 Media on Instagram. Let's get those. You got to pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. You got to pump those numbers up.
Those are rookie numbers in this bracket. I myself, 3 times a day, 2 times a day.
Three subs a day.
Once in the morning after I work out, and the second right after lunch. I want to. That's not why I do it. I do it because I fucking need to, man. We're dealing with digits, high frequency. Yeah. You got to keep the rhythm below the belt. If you don't, you will tip your shit, and even worse, I've seen it happen, implode.
And then you're going to bring us one more 5 minutes after that until we're both passed the fuck out.
Excellent strategy, sir.
That's Kyle and I. Our love of movies is only overtaken by our love of football.
Yeah, in fact.
So let's move on to our next segment, our final segment, really, of this episode, where we're going to do playoff teams questions and answers. A little bit of that, a little bit of this. What these playoff teams, what questions we have for them, looking forward, going into the off season. So yeah, we're going to start off with that. And the first team we're going to start off with is the Cowboys. Kyle, take it away.
All right. So Mike McCarthy as the coach, longtime coach of the Packers, only took Aaron Rodgers in his prime to 1 Super Bowl in 2010. A lot of people blamed, Rodgers for that, but head coaches also take a lot of that blame too. McCarthy seems like he dodged a lot of it, and Aaron Rodgers received most of that. And then he comes to the Cowboys after 1 season of being fired, let go. He has a 30-20 record with the Cowboys. I don't want to blow this thing up, but this is what Jerry Jones said about Mike McCarthy. Now, just to specify, the questions have been about if McCarthy is one and done, if he goes into Tampa Bay and loses to Tom Brady, is it time to blow this thing up with McCarthy and pick a different coach? Because I want to save that part. Is it time to blow it up? Well, this is what the owner said. He
Mhm.
said, this is Jones. He said, I don't even want to. No, that's it. I don't know if he's saying no. I don't know. I wouldn't get rid of
Yeah.
McCarthy, or if he's saying like, no, that's it. We're not having this conversation.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to. I would maybe need to watch it, and I could get more
The
context.
context.
I read this.
Yeah.
We do know Dallas is 0-1 in the playoffs, and we do know now. I'll say it. We do know that Dallas has put together possibly one of the most talented rosters in the NFL. You look across the board, the highest paid running back, and Tony Pollard's even better. You got CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. You got tight ends. You have Schultz. You have a good O-line, 2 Hall of Famer, Pro Bowl people. Diggs, cornerback. Micah Parsons was a great draft pick. There's enough talent here to freaking win a playoff game, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like it's not crazy to say that if the Cowboys are one and done, you start having to ask questions like, what is our actual goal on this team? Because we saw Jerry Jones stick with um the
Garrett.
Garrett, yeah. Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett.
We saw him stick with Jason Garrett for like a decade, it felt like, and it was
Yeah.
like 7-9, 7-9, 8-8, 8-8, 8-8, 10-6.
Mhm.
7-9, 8-8, 7-6.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, so what is your goal, Jerry Jones? I know you want to win a Super Bowl before you pass, but if he's not fired, what message are we sending? That our goal is to win 12 games a year?
Mhm.
You can wipe your ass with 12 games a year if you don't give me a Lombardi. Like, it doesn't matter if you win 12 games or 7, as long as you have a Super Bowl trophy at the end of the year.
Yep.
And I speak for everybody that wants a Super Bowl for their team. They would all agree, hey, you can have 12 wins or be one and done, or you can have 7 and win the Super Bowl. Yeah, no brainer. So
Mhm.
what are we doing here if Mike McCarthy goes into his 3rd year and hasn't even won a freaking playoff game? And in my opinion, not even a proven coach. I think he just rode the back of Aaron Rodgers all those years. He doesn't call plays. He doesn't have personality. He's not look, I think he comes across as like a nice guy, and I think he has a good relationship with Jerry Jones, and they sit around and drink in his booth, and they're like buddies. But you don't need a
Butt
buddy.
buddies.
You don't need a butt buddy. You don't need a drinking buddy. You need a football coach with fire, a guy that's going to throw a challenge flag, a guy that's going to point to the screen and scream at a ref and get your players in shape. He just kind of this is what he looks like, man, on the sideline.
Yeah, he's just looking up into nowhere.
It's like, McCarthy, there's a
Wake
game.
the fuck up, dude.
There's
He's
a game
just
on. What are you doing?
His head cocked to the side, almost
Yeah.
like Forrest Gump like.
Just staring at the
Yeah.
I could see the game better from up there. It's like, you're not supposed to be watching it on TV. You're supposed to be watching the players. Like,
Yep.
Yeah, I think that McCarthy will not be gone, but I think he should be. What do you think?
This is a tough one for me because I really do stress the fact on a lot of teams and a lot of ownership to be like, hey, give this coach some more time. Hey, give this quarterback some more time. Hey, give this GM some more time. I'm really an advocate for giving players and coaches and GMs and front offices in general, right? Like, give them 3-4 years, because who knows, right? Mike McCarthy came into a pretty decent situation.
Oh, yeah.
Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott, they drafted CeeDee Lamb, and CeeDee Lamb's turning out to be a very, very good pickup. The defense is good with Micah Parsons. Like, this team, although the Cowboys do sometimes look like they're absolute trash, this team is better than, there's a reason they're in the playoffs. They're better than half the NFL. Off the bat, off the rip, they're better than half the NFL. What you mentioned with Mike McCarthy and the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, it's 100% fair. You're going to win one Super Bowl with a Hall of Fame quarterback. And yes, Peyton Manning, there's some other examples out there.
Yeah, but
But
Tony Dungy was a coach. No one questioned that.
no one questioned him. Mike McCarthy seemed like he just gave the fuck up after he won that Super Bowl. He's like, I'm a made man in Green Bay. I don't have to do anything. And you said it yourself. He looks like he is looking into space and wants to be anywhere but that football field, but that sideline. If Dallas, so here's a tough one because you have pluses and minuses on this loss. If they lose to the Bucs, you're saying the first thing you're saying is like they lost to Tom Brady, one of the best quarterbacks in the last 2 decades plus in the NFL. It's not something to really be like, well, we suck. It's like it's Tom fucking Brady. On the other side of that coin is like, look at what the Bucs have done all season, man. You've looked better than the Bucs for more of the season, right? So it really depends how Jerry Jones wants to look at that loss, whether he wants to look at it like I lost against one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, or I lost against one of the worst teams in the NFL who limped into the playoffs. So it really does depend how you go into the season. Me personally, Mike McCarthy doesn't win a playoff game with the Cowboys. See ya, bro. Hit the road. You're out of here. This is a Dallas Cowboys team that offensively can look good. And sometimes you just got to be that coach that makes these players, Dak, more importantly, much better. You've got to make him. If Dak's throwing 3 interceptions a game, you're focusing on the run game. If Dak is throwing 3 touchdowns in the game, keep the ball in Dak's hands. Just seems like Mike McCarthy, like you said, he doesn't call plays. He's just more of like a guy just watching the game and not really like being present there, So, like I said, Cowboys go lose the game against the Bucs. Get Mike McCarthy out of there.
Yeah, if I can count with 5 fingers coaches that could come in and win a Super Bowl in the first year with that team, there's a problem. And 2 of those coaches are available. That's a bigger problem, right? John Harbaugh and Sean Payton would 100% at least take the team to the Super Bowl. He did it with Colin Kaepernick, and he did it with Alex Smith. He's absolutely, all he does is win. So you have people, Kyle Shanahan would do it. A lot of people would do it. I think Belichick could do it. I mean, look at what Belichick's done in New England compared to. That's a great way to put it. Like, they gave Belichick like this, and he was like, here's a winning season. Sorry, we missed the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
And they gave McCarthy this, and he returned it the same size. He's like, here are your players. Like, he did not, because as a coach, your job is to make your players the best versions of themselves. You figure out what they can do. That's why John Harbaugh always had his quarterback Colin Kaepernick lined up in kind of a shotgun formation. He's like, okay, he's not an under center guy. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to protect the quarterback first. We're going to have 5 offensive linemen and 2 tight ends. Like, you got to like find out ways to make your players better. And McCarthy doesn't seem like he does that to me. So I agree with you. You're like, give him time, because I'm like one of those components too, where it's like, give him time. If you keep switching, then it just seems like nobody can get their feet on the ground. Like, but there are cases where you've gone to a too talented of team to be given grace. Okay.
Exactly.
And this is your 3rd year going into your 4th. The grace is kind of over. The leash is over. If I'm an owner, I'm like, you know what, McCarthy, like, thank you. Thanks for your service. But I'm going to make a call to a guy named Sean Payton because I want to win a Super Bowl. Right. And if I got deep pockets like Jerry does, what are you doing, man? You can still be drinking buddies. Like, get rid of the guy.
Yeah, honestly, 100%. Let's move on to the next team. We've got the Seahawks. Great story coming in, and the guy behind that great story not only is their coach, but also Geno Smith, Mr. I didn't write back. Right, he wrote back, then he wasn't writing back. He seemed to not write back for a while, and all that non-writing back got him into the playoffs. I'm sorry, I'm saying writing back a lot.
I'm just like,
yeah, even I know when to quit the fucking bit. But it's like Geno Smith did really, really well this season, but you also have Pete Carroll and Kenneth Walker doing a lot for that team. It's Geno Smith which is what we expect to be an eventual wild card exit. Is he coming back next year? Are the Seahawks considering trading up in the draft to get a quarterback? Are they going to stick with Geno Smith because of the good year he's had? And just how do you unfold or you just unfold this story with Geno Smith? What do you like? What's going on with Geno Smith at the end of this postseason?
All right. I'm going to name 2 quarterbacks, and you're going to tell me who's who.
Mm-hmm.
My first quarterback has thrown for 4,282. Can you remember that?
4,282.
Okay. 30 touchdowns, 11 picks.
Mm-hmm.
My second has thrown for 4,283.
Mm-hmm.
So 1 more yard. 35 touchdowns, but 14 picks. 96.6 passer rating on this fella. The first one I said is 100.9.
Uh-huh.
Who is Geno Smith?
I'm going to go with the one with 11 picks.
You would be correct. And by the way, the other guy, Josh Allen.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I'm just
insane, right?
Yeah. The numbers are impressive. They are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also kind of like a bias of like not feeling like, even in school, it's like, yeah, he doesn't really fit in, but like, I wasn't really like that. I was more of a person that belonged to like every group. But when I think about Geno Smith and I think about his journey from Virginia all the way to the NFL, what I think about is the question is, does Geno fit in? Like, is he invited to the party with those guys that I just named? If you got a 12th man crowd in Seattle, like, even if the numbers look like that, is Geno sexy of a quarterback as getting a guy like, I don't know, USC's quarterback, Caleb Williams, Alabama. I mean, that is the shame of it all, is that you can put up the right numbers and do all the right things and it can get unnoticed because your name's Geno Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the numbers are good, but you also have to look at the way Seattle operates. I mean, you got them throwing the ball 44, 40, 39, 36. They're pass heavy. I mentioned those games where they're running the ball 10 times, 13 carries. Like, so the numbers, I will say, are a little inflated, but the passer rating to me doesn't lie. Geno Smith, what he's doing this season, if I had to put it in one sentence, is he throws a very catchable ball to the receivers, a very wide receiver friendly ball. It is not behind. It's not hitting him here. It's like in stride. It's thought out. He has the speed to roll out. He's been pretty smart with the ball. 11 picks. Herbert's got 10. Mahomes has 12. Allen's got 14. Like, it's okay. It's okay to throw picks, right? That's what great quarterbacks actually do. They take some chances because they trust their big arm. But Geno Smith doesn't have that like big arm, like Josh Allen, like Mahomes, no look. Like, he doesn't have that like it factor. He is just at this point in his career, I think he has what do you call it? He has taken advantage of his opportunity, and he has like made himself the best version that he can possibly be. Like, he is the greatest version of himself. That's what I'm trying to say, is that he could ever be. Is it realistic to continue at his age? I think depending on what your options are and what your goal is, because like I said, the goal is never to make it to the playoffs and be one and done. It doesn't really feel good when you're going into the postseason. They're sticking with Geno if you don't feel like he can take you to the Super Bowl and win it. You need to be like, I would rather have a rookie in Caleb Williams and have upside to win a Super Bowl than have a quarterback that is good enough to get us to the divisional round. So the real question to be answered, and luckily we'll figure it out this week, is Geno good enough to make it to a real important football game? For instance, the NFC Championship.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I would much rather pair up Kenneth Walker with a super high ceiling, super upside rookie quarterback and take my chances with that. Really, Pete Carroll is probably one of the better coaches to draft a rookie quarterback and throw him out there his first year. Like, he's probably one of the better coaches to do that, to take that responsibility, because in the back of your head, you're almost like, yeah, I trust this rookie quarterback to start under a Pete Carroll offense. I really do. There's something about it. I don't know what it is. Maybe Pete Carroll gives off that grandpa cozy house vibes. I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just like I feel warm when I see him. Messing with his dentures.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy for a grandpa.
he was on a scooter in a video. Like, I don't know. It's just
he would be on Jackass.
Oh, he would. He wouldn't do any of the stunts, but he'd be like, dude, that was cool.
Yeah. He would do like a harmless scene where he like has to walk through with like balls hanging out of his pants or something. Yeah. He would do like something like that.
That's actually a good one. Yeah. There's something about him that just makes me like trust him with a young quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, he will do right by this young quarterback, whether he's there for his entire career or for a year or two. There's something about it. So yes, I Geno Smith, great story this year. He did amazing. He brought them to the wild card, but after this year, just you let him walk, man. You let him take a he's going to go to the Colts. He's going to the Colts.
Oh no. Don't tell Ginger that. But I mean, it depends though, because if you have a quarterback like Geno, it allows you to put talent in other places,
Yeah.
And that's a whole conversation about, do you need an elite quarterback to win a Super Bowl, or can you have, I think it depends on your coach, but I agree with you. I say a lot of it's going to depend on how he performs in the playoffs. So,
yep. And before we move on, we got Bill here in the
What's
chat.
up,
Bill, cheers. Kyle has to go relieve himself. Bill said, just got here, but you know who hasn't thrown many picks this year. I actually need to know who that who is. I don't know if that's like a low-key little joke you got with Kyle, but I need to know who that who is. Talking Daniel Jones? Because if so, you're not going to throw that many picks with, barely throwing the ball in that offense. Let's be real. Kyle, do you know who that who Bill is referring to?
Hasn't thrown that many picks? Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones. I thought so. Yeah. All right.
Did he tell you?
No. I was waiting for him. I was like, Bill, you're gonna have to tell me who that who is. But if it's Daniel Jones, I said, then obviously not, because when you don't throw the ball as much as Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Yep. He said DJ, the previous interception leader.
Dude, I mean, we saw Dabble, turn Josh Allen around.
Yeah.
He might be doing that with Daniel Jones.
Yeah, you never know, right? We'll see. But let's move on to the next one. And Kyle loves this storyline. He absolutely fell in love. He fell hard for this storyline. And we're talking about the 49ers and Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy, this is another great story. I would say probably one of the better ones in the NFL this year, because he took a 49ers team that had Trey Lance start, got hurt. Jimmy G came in, started looking like old school Jimmy G, winning games. Jimmy G got hurt, out for the season. You bring in Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant. He wins 5 in a row, and he's putting up really good numbers in this offense, in this system. He's doing really well. So I think the question here is, do you go back to Trey Lance, or do you stay with Brock Purdy? Kyle?
If he wins, or just as of right now? Like, if he wins, are you saying if he wins, will they go back to Trey Lance if he wins?
I'm saying if he lost the wild card, would you start Brock Purdy week 1 of the 2023 season? If he put in a good effort, but he lost, let's not even talk about the game or anything. Let's not speculate. If he lost in his first playoff game ever, are you still starting Purdy for what he's done the last 5 weeks going into 2023?
Yes, 100%. Me? Yes. Yeah.
I knew that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna let this dude play out his rookie contract because now we're in a window paying a guy $400,000. We found ourselves in a Super Bowl window. I'm gonna trade Trey Lance for a first and a third, and I'm gonna trade Jimmy Garoppolo for at least a third round pick. I'm gonna have an extra first in the draft. I'm gonna have 3 thirds, 2 firsts. Yeah, I'm going to keep Brock Purdy and I'm going to load up. You don't need all these quarterbacks in the room. Let's simplify this. Let's just stick with the guy that gets you 38 points every week. And let's make sure that you see, here's the thing. If you go with Brock Purdy, you know what you get to do? You get to pay your defense. Okay? And that defense, in a lot of ways, they already paid Debo. Okay, they already have CMC on a contract.
Yep.
They have George Kittle, who feels to me like he wants to retire a Niner and win a couple more Super Bowls.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have found yourselves in not a Super Bowl window. A Super Bowl window means like it's here and it's gone. They found themselves in a dynasty window. And
wow.
Do not throw that away and to get Jimmy Garoppolo 17-10 wins. Like, come on. Like, if we're going to do this, let's do it. Like, there's nothing that Brock Purdy has shown us that should suggest that they would be better off with Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, period. You could say upside, and you could say that. And I would say, what is Trey Lance's upside? To score 38 points a game? We're already doing that. We're already doing that. It's interesting because we talk about how Mike McDaniel hasn't been able to adjust from Tua Tagovailoa and other quarterbacks, how that's made to Tua.
Yeah.
But we've seen Kyle Shanahan go from Trey Lance mobility to Jimmy Garoppolo to Brock Purdy, a rookie. That is the genius of Kyle Shanahan. Brock Purdy gets an opportunity to do a Belichick Brady with Shanahan. There was a video after like his third win in a row of them just everybody had left and gone home, and Kyle Shanahan was just sitting on a chair in front of Brock Purdy's locker, and they were just chatting about the game. Like it's like 11 o'clock at night, and they're just sitting there like talking ball.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Shanahan knows deep down. He's like, I have a guy, because Kyle Shanahan, I've said this once, I'll say it one more time. I said it weeks ago. Kyle Shanahan is a quarterback, is such a guru offensively that when he draws up a play, it is so crucial that everybody does their job. Because if one person doesn't, the play fails. And it's almost like too much where he's not giving players the freedom to kind of get outside and extend plays. And, it's a broken play, let's adjust. Kyle Shanahan's like, do it my way and there won't be a broken play ever. So the only downfall with that, right, is you're kind of taking some of the players like it factor away sometimes, maybe.
Yeah.
But
the freedom almost. Yeah.
That's why this is working so well with Brock Purdy, because Brock Purdy's like, I will do whatever you tell me to do. And
I will follow you into hell.
Yeah. Like I will not, make up my own thing on the fly. Right. If you say that I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And even if it doesn't work, I'm going to do it anyway, because I would rather it not work and you not be mad at me than me do my own thing and it fail. And you could say like, oh, like that's stupid. But I think Brock Purdy eventually will get the confidence, and also he'll earn Kyle Shanahan's trust to do some of his stuff. We've already seen him rolling out, spinning, juking. It didn't get complete, but you saw a different Brock Purdy. That came from trust that is being built. And I would say because you can see week to week trust growing, that is a sign that he is going to become the guy.
Yeah. And Bill here in the comments agrees with you. I like me some Purdy, not even 6th round like Brady, the absolute last pick. I only want good things for him. And he goes as far as saying Purdy and Heineke from the Commanders should both be starting next year. I have a tough time with this, and it's easy for you because you fell in love with it, right? Like it, and it's not a bad thing. I don't mean that as like a bad thing or anything. I think it's like awesome to be like, this story is like amazing, and I love it so much that I want to follow it into next year. It's just the Trey Lance upside. It sucks that he got hurt, man. It sucks. It just reminds me of like a lot of things with the Bears too. Like this person gets hurt, or even with like the Bulls, the Cubs, all sorts of Chicago sports really kind of get me in the feels for that. I think at this point you do roll with a hot hand, and you go with Purdy. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as trading Trey Lance. Because I think you got both of them on rookie deals at this point. So you don't trade necessarily Trey Lance. Jimmy G, absolutely. He earned what he did for this, 49ers team. And if they go far into the playoffs, they go to the Super Bowl, he's going to, no matter what you say, Jimmy G earned whatever they get, whether he's playing or not. Trade Jimmy G for sure, but keep Trey Lance, keep Purdy. Hell, have them do a quarterback competition during the offseason. But really, like, I think you go with Purdy, man. Trey Lance wasn't necessarily doing anything in those games leading up to his injury. I think it was like 2 or 3 before he got injured, something like that. And Purdy, like you said, he's gonna just do exactly what Shanahan's telling him. And he's going to eventually, if he continues doing that, eventually have some wiggle room to do his own thing. And that, I feel like that only helps that 49ers team in the long run.
Let me play devil's advocate to one thing you said. You said that you would do a quarterback competition scenario. All right. This is my only kind of pushback against that. It's not about confidence or anything like that. I would do it because the worst thing you can do as a head coach is fail on a first round pick. There's only one thing you can do worse than that, and that's trade up to get a guy and fail on a first round pick. As of right now, Trey Lance is not a bust, but he could be. He could be. It seems like he look, he went to North Dakota State, then they had COVID. He didn't have a lot of film. People just liked him. He definitely didn't. Like Jordan Love looked better than him than we saw him in the first 3 games or 2 games. He got injured early and not enough time to actually be considered a bust. And that's not fair for him. So this is why I say trade him, because if you can trade him and get anything back for him, then all of a sudden, even if Trey Lance, like you keep him on your team, do a quarterback competition. Now you got an overcompensated player on your bench. And then eventually, if something happens to Brock Purdy, he goes in and he's not the guy. Now, I mean, what do you do with him at that point? Now it's like, yeah, we totally screwed up on that first round pick. I can't believe we traded up to get him. Where you can go into next season and be like, this all kind of worked out, didn't it? We'll trade Lance. We'll get that first round back. And Trey Lance paid a lot more. If you're drafted in the first round, you're worth a lot more than the 7th round, especially the last pick in the 7th round. So, you're saving money. You're getting draft capital back. You're not a failure, and let somebody else have an experiment. Don't take that risk if it's not necessary. That's what I would be saying if I was in the front office.
Okay. I'll take that. Let's move on to the Chargers and Justin Herbert. Kyle, take it away with Justin Herbert.
All right, Justin Herbert. My question about Justin Herbert is if he wins against the Jaguars, is he going to be considered a top 5 quarterback? Or not? I don't want to say top 5. I want to say top like 3, because right now we have Mahomes and Josh Allen, and we know that that's like the back and forth. Does Josh Herbert or Justin Herbert, does he kind of we don't do names.
Josh Allen Bert?
Does Josh Allen and Justin Fields?
Josh Herwin?
Does Justin Herbert enter that quarterback room? They see each other at the Pro Bowl. It's a business as usual. Chargers win, between 11 and 13 games a year. Are we trending in that way? I would say Justin Herbert is already a top 5 quarterback. He has 4,739 yards on the season, 25 touchdowns, 10 picks, and a 93.2 passer rating. He's overcome a lot of adversity. The Chargers had the most players on IR. He broke his ribs in the week 2 matchup against the Chiefs on Thursday Night Football. He was able to come back after, I think, a couple games of the Chargers losing. They had a losing record. He couldn't throw the ball more than 10 yards, and he just kept grinding and grinding. And then when you really look at the film, the reason the Chargers would win games at the end is because he would make a play that only a few players in the NFL can make with their arm. And that is why I say Justin Herbert is a top 5 quarterback. And in spite of them holding him back, I do feel that he's being held back by the Chargers. I don't think that we've even seen what he's capable of because of Staley going forward on, 4th and 30 on his own 20, and everything else that we've seen with Staley and the injuries. And I think if you had like a Sean Payton, I know I use him a lot, but he's available right now, so it's a realistic thing. If you got rid of Staley and you had Sean Payton working with Justin Herbert, it would kind of be like the circle of life, because Sean Payton went to New Orleans and traded for Drew Brees, who was playing for the Chargers. And then he would come back as the Chargers head coach and coach Justin Herbert. It kind of like comes full circle. But I think Justin Herbert has the potential to be, in my opinion, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. Put it that way.
Wow. So this is a tough one for me. Bill's saying Burrows would bury Herbert and maybe top 5, but not top 3. So Bill is kind of not with you there with the top 3. Now, for me, Herbert, he's definitely got the talent. He's got the weapons. Like you said, man, Staley, I feel like is a coach holding him back a little bit. The team, I think, can sometimes hold him back too. Sometimes, man, it really is all on Herbert. And sure, you can point to the fact that, hey, when a quarterback has to step up, they step up. Herbert does do that. And yet somehow he still is let down by the rest of his teammates. Because even when a quarterback has to step up, his teammates can be there to pick him up, during, hey, maybe this isn't the best pass. You're going to dive for that ball to catch it. You're going to get that fumble. You're going to try your best to block this defender coming in on a blitz. You're going to do everything you can for this guy. A lot of his teammates kind of fall apart there when it's like, hey, Herbert's not doing much. It's like, well, no shit. I mean, his teammates kind of giving up on him. Herbert is right now, in my opinion, outside of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. He is, when you look at the quarterbacks in the AFC, in the AFC playoffs right now, you're like, this quarterback room is stacked. If you put all these quarterbacks in the room right now, all the AFC quarterbacks in a room right now, he would probably be top 3. Yeah, he probably would be top 3. Him and Burrow, probably vying for that 3 spot. Top 5, absolutely. There's only 7 teams, so yeah, it's not too hard to say that. But if Herbert wins this game against the Jaguars, I think the Chargers get over a hump there. And not just Herbert, but Chargers organization gets over a hump of not chargering away a playoffs. So I think it's going to only help him and the organization as a whole. Can he be in top 3 after winning? Probably not. He's talking. I'm looking at him top 6, 7 in the NFL right now for sure.
Yeah, and I do think it's he has a lot of weapons, but I just think it's a coaching thing, man. I really do. Like, I think if he was like traded to the Eagles, hell, I think that if he had to suit up for the Dolphins this week, there would be a good ball game for us. I mean,
real quick, here's a question for you. Phillip Rivers on the Chargers. Can you name one of his head coaches?
Oh yeah. I can't remember his name because you just asked me, but yeah, he was there for like a long time. He was always red in the face. What was his name?
So me personally, I can't remember a head coach for the.
Well, they're in my division, So like it's a
Oh,
little
okay. So
different.
it is a little bit easier for you.
He was here we go.
Anthony Lynn, Marty Schottenheimer,
No.
Norv Turner.
Norv Turner.
That's
That
the only one outside of Brandon Staley that even rings a bell. And I feel like that's saying something for this Chargers organization. You want to go and say the Chargers are charging, you're looking at the Chargers have a head coaching problem.
Yeah, Norv
that's
Turner was 59-43, winning record, but just couldn't get to that next level.
Just like Mike McCarthy, like Garrett, Jason Garrett, like these Dallas Cowboys coaches that somehow we know more than anything on the Chargers ever. We know Phillip Rivers. We know LaDainian Tomlinson. We know Junior Seau. We know a lot of the players because they're so good. But the coaches, absolute garbage, man. And that's just how it is sometimes. And that's again, the downfall of the Chargers.
Yeah, I agree. I think things will like kind of shape up a little bit differently moving forward, but I also don't want to like hold Justin Herbert captive to like the situation that he's had to deal with in the last couple of years.
Let's move on to the next team in the playoffs, the Bills. Now, luckily, after that Monday Night Football game, obviously the entire NFL world, as far as just the world, I think, knows what happened to Damar Hamlin, the tragedy that struck on the field that day. Thank God for all the people there that were able to do CPR, able to get things done, react quickly to save this man's life, really, to get him to the hospital. He is doing well. He was finally discharged after about 10 days, I believe, 10 or so days. He was finally discharged. He is on the way up. Thank God, right?
Absolutely.
The Bills, with this like really emotional news, what happened during that Monday Night Football game going into the playoffs, Kyle, are they like riding this emotional wave? Like, is this going to kind of like, we need to do this for Damar? He put his body, his life, his everything, really, when you think about it, his literally everything out on the field that day. We need to win, and we need to just go far in this playoffs for Damar Hamlin.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's definitely I think about when Brett Favre lost his dad and he played in that Monday Night Football game and like destroyed. I think he was playing the Vikings.
Oh, he went ham.
Yeah, he went ham, and it was like we've seen two sides of this coin, right? I remember when Kobe died, R.I.P. Kobe. The Lakers played in their next game, they lost. They just said like emotionally, like they weren't into it. But Damar Hamlin's doing better, so it's a little different. Kobe was gone forever. I think that the Bills already are a really good team, and this just kind of adds a little something to it. It's an incredible. Now that he's okay, it's a good story. It's hard to revive people. The fact that somebody could have been just not in this world for 9 minutes. That is, I mean, as a parent, that is the longest 9 minutes you'll ever experience. So I think that team felt that 9 minutes, a lot of people probably felt like that was the, longest 9 minutes of their life. And something kind of like that's not easily forgotten. It's not like it's just business as usual. Like, okay, Damar's good. Like, this is kind of stick with them. This is going to be on their minds. They're probably going to have, the threes lit for, the postseason. It's not just like a one-time thing. I mean, this was a big deal, and it'll be treated like that. So I think this could, if you had any questions about them, I think this could be the thing that definitely takes them over the top and wins a Super Bowl for Damar.
Yeah, man, it's an emotional ride for sure for the Bills. I agree with everything you said, man. This is a guy who's a competitor who wants to go out there and play the game with his team. If he could, I'm sure he'd suit up for the playoffs if he could, right? Like these guys are competitors, man. They put it all out on the field, and it shows a lot. It shows in just who they are, what they do, what they're willing to do to go out there. The Bills are definitely going to take this and try to win it all for DeMar. I can picture it now. The Bills winning the Super Bowl. They bring DeMar up there for the trophy presentation, and he's the first one to touch it. He's the first one to touch that Super Bowl trophy.
Wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah. It's an emotional ride, and I think the Bills are like ready to go all in for him. But yeah, that was the Bills. Let's move on to the Giants.
Oh, I will say really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Bills, we both have the Bills and Bengals winning. So the next week's game would be the Bills and the Bengals.
Be huge.
So that will be like, obviously, everything coming full circle right there.
Yeah, for sure. Real quick, we got Bill here. Oh Lord, here it comes. We have got the Giants. The biggest question for the Giants: Dable. Double the size of a regular man's balls, goes 4 for 2. He becomes almost a legend in his first year of coaching. Yep, that's his sack right there. Are the Giants in the playoffs this year? Is this a flash in the pan? Is this something where next year, Dabble got him in the playoffs, but next year it's looking more like that was a flash in the pan, probably not going to happen again? And how does the season start off with Dabble? Are they staying with Daniel Jones? Is Saquon continuing his career like how he did this year in his rookie year? What's going on?
I'm going to say yes, and no. Yes, Saquon. Yes, Daniel Jones. No, this is not a fluke. And the reason I'm going to say that is because like I said, we saw what Dabble did with Josh Allen. We saw how he turned that around. Now, you can have a fluke season. That is totally like something that we have seen before.
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that people don't talk about a lot is that the Giants dealt with a lot of injuries in the weeks that they were struggling. And you saw like kind of teams that just don't have it kind of fall off, like the Jets and just not the ability to overcome through coaching players up that are practice squad guys, second stringers, like getting them ready to play ball at a high level to compete against starters. Dabble did that. And if you look at where this Giants team was last year, you could say that, if the Chargers win a playoff game this year, or should we expect them to win every year? And you could be like, I don't know, maybe. But going from I feel the same way about Jacksonville, right? If you go from like being like a bottom feeder in the NFL to competing in 1 year, the only thing I can think is imagine. It's like this quote. It was like, what did they say? It was Bruce Almighty. Quote. It was Bruce Almighty, and he goes into work after he got fired, and he's like, I had to reevaluate my priorities. And he goes through this long list of things. He's like, you did all that in a day? And he's like, imagine what I could do in 7.
Yeah.
Because he's like God in the movie.
Yeah.
So I'll say this. Dabble did all this in a year. Imagine what he can do in 2.
Okay. I like that. I can get behind that for sure. What I will say is Daniel Jones, a quarterback, that's tough. That's a tough look for any coach, I think. Dabble goes into next year and goes, yep, we can do the same thing with Daniel Jones. Maybe we can, I don't know, make him a quarterback that we can get behind. I just look, you make good points. Look what Dabble did with Josh Allen, a guy that not a lot of people were really high on when he came into the draft, right? Look what he did with him. Josh Allen's now one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I don't know if he can do the same with Daniel Jones. I think they have to go with another quarterback off the rip. I think they draft another quarterback.
Why?
Because Daniel Jones doesn't have an arm. He just doesn't have that quarterback play. It's back to my point when we were going over the wild card games. If it wasn't for Saquon, they'd have no offense. Their offense would be non-existent.
But doesn't it feel like Josh Allen's first year, we were like, oh, Josh Allen, it wasn't even worth really talking about. And then his next year, he had a huge leap. Like, this is Dabble's first year with Daniel Jones, and it's fair to say that in the last 3 weeks, we're already seeing these trends of a different Daniel Jones. Like, hey, who is this guy? He rushed for 3 touchdowns. You know, I'm not saying that you're totally wrong, but I'm also saying, like, why burn down the house if you're in the playoffs with this guy and he's getting better?
The reason I say that is because I think there's enough tape on Daniel Jones to be like,
without enough tape without Dabble.
Yes.
That's my devil's advocate.
Even with Dabble, even with this year, let's be honest. What he can run the ball. Sure. Like I said, I said it myself. He is a weapon running the ball. I just, that's not. So Justin Fields is more of a weapon running the ball. I don't want him to run the ball every single game next year. I want him to develop his passing game. Daniel Jones just hasn't been able to do that.
He has no receivers.
Neither does Justin Fields.
I know exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, instead of getting a quarterback, why not do this? Why not trade somebody that has a lot of value? I know you're not going to like this in the chat, Bill. Why not trade Saquon Barkley for a boatload? Use one of those draft picks and get, running backs, unfortunately, are kind of replaceable. Go grab in the second round with a high pick, the best running back available. Somebody that you really like, and then use these other draft picks to get receivers. Then you have a year where Daniel Jones, does he improve with all these weapons? And if he doesn't, then you get a quarterback, because if you didn't, then you have a good draft pick because you lost a lot of games. Mm-hmm. But you got to give the guy a chance to succeed. Name me 3 wide receivers on the Giants.
I think they traded their only one was
Tony to the Chiefs.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney. Yeah,
that's what that's my only like. I mean, it's easy to be like, the guy sucks, man. Get him out of there. That's, people said it about Geno too. But what is the, how do you really judge a man without weapons? That's kind of my philosophy. I mean, he got you in the playoffs with this. Why not, give him this and see what he can do?
Because I feel like I'm trying to think of a guy with, like, in the same situation as Daniel Jones, right? But I think Daniel Jones is just, there's been enough. I just, in my from what I've seen from Daniel Jones, there's enough tape, man. It's not going to happen. Whether it's Dabble or whether it's, I forgot who their coach was. Maybe Bill can help me out. The coach before Dabble. I just don't know, man. I really, this is one of those times where I really don't believe in this quarterback as far as Daniel Jones.
I know what you mean, dude, because when we went into this season, I said the same thing. I was like, they're sticking with Daniel Jones. I couldn't believe it. I was like, why don't you just say you don't want to win? And then he came in and he got better. So that's when I was thinking, hey, maybe, because if you look at the Giants the last 3 years, the coaching staff that they've had, they've never been like, actually competing for anything. They just have always been a bottom feeder of the league, kind of since Eli, even a couple years before Eli retired. It's just been that way. But I would just be hard pressed to say, hey, a guy that we stuck with just got us into the playoffs. Like, it's like Russell Wilson's off-field antics. They bother everybody. Everyone's stir crazy. But when he was winning in Seattle, it didn't matter. Like, he
was not nowhere near as cringe. He was nowhere near as cringe. I don't think look, he was unlimited. He was unlimited. Absolutely. But
Russell, where do you get your inspiration? Unlimited. Dude,
I just see, even Bill knows. Look, I'm as surprised as anyone on Daniel Jones this year. Agreed, not the greatest. Not the greatest is not someone you want to go into next year going, this is my quarterback. This is a Bears move. This is a Bears with Mitch Trubisky move. He got us to the playoffs last year. Who gives a fuck? He's not a good quarterback. He's not. He's a good guy. Daniel Jones is a super cool dude from what I've seen. He's probably a really nice guy. Not a quarterback.
I just want to say, like, these quarterbacks that you're talking about that you're like, get rid of Daniel Jones. He's not this. Like, they don't grow on trees. Like, you and I have been on a quarterback carousel for a decade almost.
You're right. You're right.
You
Yep.
know, and that is like my biggest drawback here is like,
Mm-hmm.
sure, throw Daniel Jones out, but you better make sure that whoever's replacing him is going to play at least as good as Daniel Jones. And meanwhile,
Yep.
Daniel Jones could go Brian Tannehill style in a different
Mm-hmm.
place. I don't know if he will or not, but my point is, like, if you're going to get rid of him, who are you bringing in?
Yeah.
Jimmy Garoppolo? Would you rather have Jimmy Garoppolo?
No, you're right. What I will say is, like, you're right. This Daniel Jones for the rest of his life will be able to say, I was a NFL quarterback for an NFL team who went to the playoffs. He will forever be able to say that. Something a lot of people will never be able to say. Some people get to college and are just like, yeah, you're not as good. He'll be able to say that. He's thrown touchdowns. He's rushed for touchdowns. He's been on winning teams. He has had some Saquon Barkley. He has had some really good teammates. I mean, he had what's his face, the one on the Rams last year who got injured during the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham Jr. on his team.
Oh, yeah,
at one point. So I get
did
that.
He? I don't think he did. I
No,
think
he
Odell
did.
was traded to
No,
Cleveland.
he did. He did.
He did? Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I maybe it was when he was a rookie though, or his second year in. He left.
I think 1 year.
Yeah, maybe like a year or two. And Bill knows this for sure. Yeah, he's saying OBJ. He's had some talented guys, and sure, maybe the first 2 years of his time in the league were a bit like, yeah, he's definitely a second year quarterback. I really don't think he's got it, and I think they go for another quarterback. I think they try to trade up in the draft. They might actually have some good draft picks. I mean, well, they're in the playoffs, but whatever. I just think they go with another quarterback.
Alex Smith was considered a bust before John Harbaugh showed up. And we have seen, I understand where you're coming from too. I really do. But we have seen quarterbacks, when they get the right coach around them and get the right system, all of a sudden it's like, damn, he's good, but we're not used to it. So it takes us a while. We're like, still like, yeah, they're kind of like, it's the Geno Smith thing. It's like, Geno, I read his numbers. They're similar to Josh Allen, but we're like, yeah, shut up. Like, they're not the same. And
he's going to get smoked in the playoffs.
Yeah. So
Josh Allen, Super Bowl.
We'll call that from now on in the show. We'll call it the Geno effect.
Yeah.
So I do think there's a little bit of a Geno effect going on right now. And I would just say, like, whatever you do, if you, he's not a top 5 quarterback. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he may be the best option on the market.
Yeah.
That's all. That's all.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. He might be. Bill said Geno was a Giant too. Y'all missed out.
He was writing stories then. He was writing back.
He was writing pages of letters there. Let's move on to the next team. And again, thank you for sticking with us. We are at the 2-hour mark, Bill. Hopefully you're getting some work done with us here in the background. We appreciate you always hopping on with us, and everyone else as well. Tyler, Kyle's brother's on here asking if he's wine drunk on Wednesday. Love to hear it. But let's move on to the Dolphins. The Dolphins with Tua, Mike McDaniels. This is another good example of the coach, right? Like you said, Mike McDaniels came in, and yeah, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, great additions. The Patriots and the Jets don't look to be teams that are going to threaten the Bills for the AFC East, but the Dolphins look to be one of those teams. Can the Dolphins with a healthy Tua, and let's remember Tua's been in concussion protocol. I think he was injured his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken, with the I forget the other head coach's name. Can they
Brian Flores?
Can Tua, McDaniel, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Bradley Chubb now on that defense, can they threaten the Bills for the AFC East, Kyle?
Yes. The Miami Dolphins are loaded with talent. And when these talented players are playing their best football, they looked like they weren't going to compete with Buffalo. They looked like they were going to win their division. That's how they looked at week 4. We saw them beat the Ravens, and we saw them beat the Bills, and they won their season opener, and the hype was high. and the injuries were the only thing that prevented them. Now, I will say, I'm not going to be as quick as you personally to pass up on the Jets. I like Saleh a lot. And
Yes.
not now the Daniel Jones thing you just said, I think that's the Jets. They're the ones that need to be aggressive in the quarterback
They need
because
Daniel Jones.
oh, my God. Again. Yeah, but if they could make a move to get a guy like even, if Tom Brady wanted to become available, um, Derek Carr, Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah.
Like, think about what they had a Canadian football player starting a must-win playoff game against the Jags because Zach Wilson was so bad. They were like, the guy was in there, literally just, no offense, a meathead. He was in the game holding the ball like this and like throwing it like he didn't even like know how to like no finesse.
Fingers on the laces, asshole.
Every play was just snap and run. Like it was like, okay, like I've been in the Tebow era. I know what you're doing. You're screwed. You have nothing to do at quarterback, the most important position. The guy that touches the ball every play is terrible. And all three of them are bad. When you have Joe Flacco trying to save your season, bro, it's over, man. It's so
especially when Joe Flacco was like, I don't want to be here right now.
Yeah. So let's just take a step back. This isn't about the Jets, but do take a step back and realize that the Jets did start the season, 6-1 or whatever it was. And I do believe Saleh is going to be a great coach. And if they can get a good quarterback, NFC or AFC East is going to be a fun battle. To the Dolphins, I do think it kind of depends on the Tua thing. There's going to be some really hard questions to be answered this offseason, and that's for sure. One of those questions is going to be why did Tua have 3 concussions? Is it his height? Is it the offensive line? Is it the style of play? There's a lot of variables, but that needs to be addressed. If Tua cannot have a season where he is not at literally risk for, major CTE, I don't think that can be your long-term option. I think that's selfish. So
yeah,
if they can find a way to fix it, whether it's one of those 3 things, and Tua can stay healthy for an entire year, Tua, the guy that replaced Jalen Hurts in the national championship when they were down and came back and won, that guy, yeah, we've seen him play in big games, and we've seen him have ice in his veins. The Miami Dolphins are a good team. They got, man, honestly, like they were like a weapon away, and then they acquired Bradley Chubb. Teams do that mid-season stuff before the deadline when they have the awareness to know they're in a Super Bowl window. The Miami Dolphins realized it. They said, we're in a window. Let's go ahead and try to get a Lombardi while we're in here. We'll take Chubb, give the Broncos the first that we got from the 49ers. We need another pass rusher. So to say that they're going to compete with the Bills next year, I'm going to say yes, but I am concerned about Tua and his availability. And if they have to kind of throw the whole blueprint out because of Tua, that's going to be a setback that may cost them a lot, because now you gave up a lot to get in a window that you're not really in anymore. And it may be, like a 4-year, 5-year difference. So I think there's a lot kind of riding on Tua, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Unless they get Tom Brady. They wanted Brady last year. That's why the owner got suspended for 4 games. He had to watch the games from his yacht.
True. Real quick for Bill. Well, at least I can be here as a reference for you for at least one team. LOL. Don't mean to spam. Just offering an alternative take. All my Giants guys are in the East Coast and in bed by night, so I bug you. Bill, you're not bugging us ever.
Not at all.
I love that you're on here with us, giving us the Giants. I love that we have a Giants guy. We got Ginger as the Colts guy. We've got Tyler, Tyler Fink as Packers.
Both Tylers are Packers.
Both Tylers are Packers. You're right. That's a trend.
We got Steelers.
Who's the Steelers?
That's God, not JST. He's Bills and Chiefs.
Bills and Chiefs.
But it's like another one that comes in all the time.
Yeah, I know Robert is a Bears fan. So I love the fact that we can build this community with guys from everywhere, from all over, from all teams in the NFL.
Yeah, we just don't have any Bronco fans.
It's all you, baby. It's all you, Mr.
Holding it down.
Unlimited. um, I couldn't agree more with what you said. It really does depend on Tua whether they will threaten for the AFC East. Now, we've seen what Teddy Bridgewater can do. We're seeing what Skylar Thompson can do. Maybe bring in a better backup at this point, right? Because if Tua continues, and obviously, like, the first thing that should be addressed is, like you said, why is he getting so many concussions? Did we rush him back too early from the first time? Is he not getting the treatment needed? Is it his offensive line? Is it because he's rushing too much because of his offensive line? Because he's a little too this, too that? That needs to be addressed first. The next thing needs to be a better backup quarterback, because now you guys can be very dangerous. But if you don't have the right backup quarterback to manage these games with a Tyreek, with a Jalen Waddle, with a Mostert, with a good running game, and a really good head coach who can make adjustments, you guys are screwed, and you guys aren't going to be like in the discussion for the AFC East. So those are the two top things. And I mean, obviously, we all want Tua to be healthy and to have a long career, because we just saw what happened again. I hate, I don't want to mention this or keep mentioning it, but Damar Hamlin, we saw what happened. Your career could be done in an instant like that. Shazier, from a while ago, he never played football again. Johnny Knox for the Bears a long time ago had like a crazy injury to happen on the field. So the first thing is you want to make sure that you're healthy, that you're getting the right treatment with Tua. But I agree, like, if they don't do anything about that, it's going to be a tough go for the Dolphins in the AFC East.
Real quick, you mentioned the backup has to be good. They are trending towards having Teddy Bridgewater back to be able to start. Teddy Bridgewater is one of the best backups in the league. He was a full starter last year. And I mean, we had, I think 1 or 0 more wins, but I'm just saying, like, the experience is clutch. Teddy Bridgewater is their best chance to win. So that's kind of good news for the Dolphins.
Yeah. No, I would much rather go with Bridgewater for sure.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got NFC North rivals of the Bears. We've got the Vikings. And the subject here, the question here is Kirk Cousins the guy to lead the Vikings to the Super Bowl? He's got Dalvin Cook. He's got Justin Jefferson. The defense isn't there. Absolutely not.
Beautiful smile.
He's got a beautiful smile. He's a Midwestern boy.
Great looking guy.
It's good. Yeah, I will say he's a good looking motherfucker. Kevin O'Connell seems to have really taken this team and made it a threat offensively. And obviously the weapons help, but like, he just unleashed a lot of these guys. But is Kirk Cousins the guy in Minnesota, Kyle?
Yes.
Bill.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins is definitely the guy in Minnesota. We talk about it. They don't grow on trees. You got Kirk Cousins when he's playing. They won 12 games. Like, I mean, things could be a lot worse in an instant. You got a guy that led you to 12 wins. Yeah, I agree with Bill. At times they look fraudulent. They look like they got blown out on almost all their important games, and then all their wins come in the last second. It's just kind of like, you don't feel good about this team if you're a Vikings fan. But I think Kirk Cousins gives them their best chance to win. He's been there for a long time. But this was a prediction in the offseason, was that if Kirk Cousins can get a coach that lets him just play a little looser, they'll be a lot better. And you'll start seeing them win those close games instead of last season. They led the league in the most close losses. So last season, a lot of L's, and they changed the personnel up. This is another one of those scenarios. The NFL changes so much, but the quarterbacks to us are the same guy. But the quarterbacks, depending on how the personnel changes, is for better or for worse. Kind of like getting married, right? So like, if you look at Kirk Cousins with this new front office, you got to be happy with 12 wins compared to what they had last year. which was would they 7 wins, 6 wins, no
Probably,
playoffs.
yeah, something like that.
So yeah, they've doubled their wins. They won their division. That's the first goal of every franchise: win your division, win your conference, win the Super Bowl. They won their division. Kirk Cousins is a playoff win away against the Giants from kind of turning this whole conversation aside, I believe.
I could see that, and and Bill's here, and if we lose, I will have a lot of crow to eat. So if the Giants lose, Bill's probably not going to show his face around the stream.
Bill, look, come back. We don't care.
Yeah, no, it's not your fault. It's not your fault.
It's not you. It was Kirk.
I think the opposite with Kirk. I think the Vikings with Kirk before Kevin O'Connell is the Kirk that is going to be the Kirk the rest of his career. Now, we got to remember, 11 of these games were won within a score. One score were 11 of these wins. One win was, yeah, they won, right? It was almost like a convincing win. One of them, they had to come back down 33 impressive. Not a sustainable way to win. Now, I will say, they got lucky. A lot of games went their way. They were able to score here and there towards the end. But with Kevin O'Connell there, it does seem to be a different team. And he could turn it around. You're right. He could let Kirk Cousins cook. Let Kirk cook. Let
Delvin cook.
Let Delvin cook. So, it might be different. It could be a different Vikings team that we see with Kevin O'Connell, with a different front office, with Jalen Reagor, a guy that the Eagles took before the Vikings took Justin Jefferson. Hey, now they got the 2 picks that they could have wanted, right? This is just something that could happen in the future. I personally, I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy. I really do think they need to get another quarterback, but how, kind of to your point earlier with Daniel Jones, how do you get a quarterback after he led you to 12 wins and the playoffs? Yeah. You're absolutely right. And in a home playoff game at that, right? That is important. That is very important. So how do you do that?
Where are these guys?
Exactly. But I will say some of the best front offices, some of the best coaches, and I think we have said it on this show before and agreed on it. If they think they need a quarterback, they'll get a fucking quarterback, and they don't give a shit what the fans say or what the quarterback in question says either.
Yeah, I totally agree. There's definitely better quarterbacks out there than Kirk Cousins, but to your point, 12 wins, win a division, new head coach, things are looking good. Like, we also, like, a football season has ups and downs. Who won the Super Bowl last year?
The Rams. Sorry.
The Rams. No, you're good. I know you had to think. So like when the Rams were in week 13, nobody they hit their dip. They started losing football games. The year before that, Tampa won the Super Bowl, I believe, right? No. Not Tampa.
No, Tampa.
Was it Tampa? Yeah, because he's in his 3rd season. Yeah. So
yep.
Tampa won the year before that. Tampa, they started the season, they were like 500 up until like week 8, and then they flipped the switch. So like, it's like there's a couple teams that just don't really do that. The Chiefs, the Eagles. And I think a lot of times when we're asking about these quarterbacks, we're like keeping that in our mind. We're like, let's get that. Right. But we also, I think, forget how rare that is. And not necessarily necessary to win a Super Bowl. Like the Vikings could flip a switch and start winning games and getting a shootout with Philly. Like we've seen stuff like that happen. So I would say it's not, to me, at a point where it's like, rip it up, like start from scratch, draft the new guy. If anything, I would draft a guy to sit behind Kirk for a year.
But you mentioned the Rams. Look what they did when they won the Super Bowl. Sean McVay said, we're not going to do this with Goff. Goff got them to the Super Bowl.
Goff's
And he
better
said,
than Stafford right now.
and he said, sure, but who won them the Super Bowl? Goff. He said,
Von Miller.
Goff. Yeah. Okay. Goff said, or McVay said, Goff. Yep. He got me to a Super Bowl. Matthew Stafford will win me that Super Bowl. First year, what happened? Yes, Von Miller was a huge part of that.
Aaron Donald,
but
Jalen Ramsey.
Who was throwing those passes to OBJ for that touchdown in the Super Bowl?
But my thing is, if Matthew Stafford wasn't Von Miller, if Matthew,
it was Matthew Stafford, and Matthew Stafford is a Hall of Fame quarterback.
I love Matthew Stafford. I followed him at Georgia, but my only thing is, like, if he was that great, how come he never had the success it seems like Jared Goff kind of tapped into? Like, it seemed like they were always like, I get it, like, but he did have Calvin Johnson, and I think he made it to the playoffs that year too.
Who else did he have?
Exactly. Then he had no. He had some guys. He had
Calvin Johnson. Had Calvin Johnson. That's it. The defense with Ndamukong Suh, I will say, was good. They were dominant. But when all you got is Calvin Johnson, and don't get me wrong, Calvin Johnson, also a Hall of Famer, also one of the best wide receivers in the league, still has the record for most yards in a single season, right? Something like that. You still couldn't do it, even with a guy like that. It's probably the team. This is a team game, quarterback and wide and passing game driven, sure, but it's still a team game, man.
Do you feel like the Vikings are too talented to not be in an NFC Championship? I think that's kind of where we're getting with this.
What do you mean?
There's too much talent on the Vikings.
There's only one ball.
No, to like not be in the NFC Championship.
Oh.
Because they're going to do what you want a star quarterback to do. So unless you're just saying like the talent they have right now, a better quarterback would take them to the NFC Championship or something like that. You know what I mean? Like,
I think I know what you're saying. I think that's what I'm saying. A better quarterback would take them.
Are the Vikings in a window right now?
The Vikings are in a. They're in a window, but if 3 years go by and they don't win and they finally get another quarterback, they will still be within that window because the defense still has to improve.
Yeah. The defense is like the major concern, and I feel like we're putting a lot of that on Kirk. Dude, I love these conversations because once it goes playoff time, we're going to be like, let's say Kirk goes out there and throws 3 picks. You know, I'm going to be like, next time I come on, I'm going to be like, yeah, so
so Kirk Cousins gone.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, like, we're just going to be like, I mean, yeah, who could have fucking called that? You know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So, what was I going to say? Let's go to Bill here. If Stafford offered to work for the Giants for free, I would keep Daniel Jones 3-2-1 until responses are like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Bill? What the fuck? No. Let's move on to the Ravens.
I love it.
This is the biggest question mark for the Ravens, and it's not even a question, really. Lamar Jackson. He's already missing another practice. Doubtful, questionable, whatever you want to say into this wildcard weekend game. Even bigger than this playoff game is he going to be on the Ravens next year? Yeah, right?
I don't think so. Well, it's tough. It's a tough one because because we don't know. No, I'm kidding.
Unpredictable. You don't know. Yeah. We're not insiders.
It's just tough because he's dealt with a lot of injuries. If he doesn't go out and win a playoff game against the Bengals, obviously we heard that the contract that Lamar turned down was somewhere in the vicinity of what Deshaun Watson was being offered, which means one thing. Lamar Jackson wants to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yep.
Now, if you're the front office for Baltimore, is Lamar Jackson worth the most money out of every quarterback in the NFL? The answer to that is no. He is not worth the most money, which means if we can't come up with an agreement where he acknowledges that, he will effectively walk away from the Ravens. And that's kind of how I see it unfolding.
Yes. And he's got an MVP, and that's what he's using. Yep. But what do the Ravens have on their side? You've been hurt almost every year you've played the game. Yeah. How are you the most talented, the quarterback that commands the most money when you have Patrick Mahomes out here winning a Super Bowl, going to 2 Super Bowls,
AFC
Josh
championship Allen, every year?
Yeah, AFC championship for every single year he has been in the playoffs. Josh Allen over here threatening to be NFL MVP, possibly Super Bowl MVP. He's that good. Jalen Hurts took 2 years for his team to be the most dominant in the NFC, possibly a Super Bowl trip in the future. How can you say that, Lamar Jackson? Don't get me wrong. Would I want Lamar Jackson on the Bears? Maybe before the emergence of Justin Fields? Yeah, 100% I'd want Lamar Jackson on the Bears. Would I pay him more than Patrick Mahomes? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Would not pay him more than
Justin Fields.
I said before the emergence of Justin Fields.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. All right, give us Fields. We'll give you Russ. You trade him to the Ravens and you get Lamar.
Look at that. Look at that. Kyle's already like, oh my God, I got this going.
We could have had him anyway.
Yeah.
I don't want to relive it. Sertan, I love you. All right. I totally agree with everything you said. Lamar Jackson is asking for a lot of money. And my final thought on this whole thing is this. The MVP season that he had seems like a very, very long time ago. And it wasn't. Mm-hmm. Which means while other quarterbacks have been having Sunday night showdowns and being promoted in Twitter, showing them fired up and crazy plays, we haven't really, this whole season kind of feels like, even when Lamar was playing good, it was just kind of happened all quietly. Like it didn't feel like it didn't feel like a great year of like Lamar Jackson's brand being promoted. I feel like his brand decreased this year significantly. I think the best time for him to get a big contract would have been the year after his MVP season.
An extension, right?
Yeah,
something like that.
Extension, something like that. But unfortunately, this thing with him not wanting an agent and using his mom, it's going to backfire. And I think it's going to get ugly before it gets worse because whoever the Ravens are going to say, we're not comfortable doing that. And Bill mentioned it. He said, well, who has the money to do it? Well, the answer is I don't see any ball club doing it. I don't see even a team desperate for a quarterback that would say like, okay, we're going to pay you more money than, Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Aaron Rodgers. Because you don't stay healthy. We'll pay you for about 10. I'm sure they could make like a really massive contract, but have incentives in the details. Like if you don't play more than 14 games a year, this contract, and there you go. Not having an agent, there's going to be incentives in there that if you are a guy that is like for the Players Association, they're going to be like, that's messed up because we don't know if we're going to get hurt. Yeah. And those are the kind of things that you don't want in your contract. Hey, if this happens, we're taking your money. The rich owners, and the players beat themselves up and get their money taken. Dude, get an agent. That's the last thing I'm just going to say.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree more. The next one, we did talk a little bit on him. We touched a little bit on him, but the Bengals, Joe Burrow headed into his second playoff appearance after being in the Super Bowl the year before when I would say it was a big surprise. And I think a lot of people would say the same. Is Joe Burrow a top 3 quarterback if he can get to the Super Bowl again, or at least the AFC Championship? I think like we had discussed.
Joe Burrow is right now a top 3 quarterback. Right now. Even
in the NFL, AFC? NFL, AFC?
NFL.
Okay.
Yeah. Joe Burrow is, I said it, the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. Goes to the AFC Championship. Over him. Kirk.
Oh my God, Kyle's heart dropped. I felt that. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, dude. The guy's in the AFC Championship. He takes him to the Super Bowl. Worst offensive line in the league. Barely can get around. Most sacked quarterback. Running for his life. Wills the team to the Super Bowl. All he did in LSU was win. He had one season. It was cut short because he tore his ACL. Came back the next season. Took him to the Super Bowl. Yeah. In the last 2 games, I don't know the exact number, but he has led them to 2 10-plus win seasons. And obviously the Super Bowl appearance is all that matters. He beat the Chiefs when it mattered on the AFC Championship in Arrowhead. He beat the Chiefs again this year. I think they were on track to beat the Bengals. This is the year of the awakening of Joe Burrow. Madden cover 2023, Joe Burrow.
Calling it. Kyle's calling it. And that's the one thing too, man. I seeing Joe Burrow, LSU, win the national championship, look cool as shit, smoking that cigar post game, right? What he meant to LSU is amazing, is a winner. He comes into the Bengals after the Bengals were like, they don't look like they're going to be a team. Joe Burrow may be a bust on this team. Who knows what happens with this team with Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow, like you said, has one bad season with the Bengals and then goes to the Super Bowl the next year. Like at this point, it's like if he's not making the playoffs every year of his career, it's like, whoa, what the fuck's going on with Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow said it himself. They asked him, they're like, so do you think the Bengals, do you think you guys are in a window right now? He's like, the window for a Super Bowl is my career. Tell me that isn't the most badass thing. Right? Boom, mic drop. That's the most badass thing you can say as a quarterback. I can't drop this mic because it was very expensive. That is the most badass thing. And that's exactly what you want to hear from a guy who won the national championship and came into the league as was he the number 1 pick or he was like the 2? Yeah. Okay. And has proven that pick, has proven his career in college, already gone to the Super Bowl. This dude is all that. And I'm going to date myself here, but all that in a bag of chips. Like that guy, he is that guy.
All that in the bottle of wine.
So he's definitely a top. God, I do want to say top 3.
Yeah, who would you put over him right now?
And that's what I'm thinking. Like, who would I put over him? Jalen Hurts, maybe. But even then, it's like Joe Burrow plays in the AFC against Patrick Mahomes, against Josh Allen, against the 2 teams, against like a now emerging Trevor Lawrence. You know what I mean? Like Trevor, like Joe Burrow's success, you can almost look at it like Trevor Lawrence. Horrible first year, and now he's in the playoffs as home field advantage. So, just to think, just a couple things to kind of take there. And Bill said, yeah, I would take Joe Burrow in a hot second. Bill, you're going to be right back. Coyote may be out back. Ooh,
no shit.
Coyote. Do you have anything else on Joe Burrow and his legacy with the Bengals?
No, that's all I got on that one. I can't wait to see him shock the world again. I don't know why they're shocked, but they will be.
Same. Let's move on to the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, we've talked about them. AFC Championship game every year with Patrick Mahomes. Won a Super Bowl already. But are they a dynasty because they've only won one Super Bowl? Are they a dynasty?
Yes. A dynasty is something that's created in a long stretch of time of continual dominance.
Mm-hmm.
That is what Patrick Mahomes, if we learned anything from Tyreek Hill being traded and Mahomes throwing for almost the world record for passing yards, it's that it's not about the players that they set up. I love when people are like, it's Andy Reid, it's Travis Kelce. Yeah, was it Andy Reid and Travis Kelce when it was Alex Smith? No, It wasn't. Mahomes is not just already in a dynasty. He's been to the Super Bowl more of the years than he hasn't, right? He had took over. He went head to head with Brady in the playoffs his first season, a rookie. Or he sat behind Alex Smith, but his first season, he went toe to toe with Tom Brady. It went into overtime and Brady scored. In our new playoff era today, Mahomes would have got the ball back and would have won, and Tom Brady wouldn't have won the Super Bowl that year. And I really believe that Mahomes would have won the Super Bowl that year. But he went to the AFC Championship. He went to the Super Bowl and won it the next year. He went to the Super Bowl and lost it. Then he went to the Super Bowl and won it. And then he got beat by a guy named Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow has entered the chat. And that's another serious barrier that you got to go through every year. But Mahomes is up for the challenge, dude. We've never seen a player as talented as Mahomes. And I won't say that.
You can't. Because we thought the same thing about Brady, and it's Mahomes now.
Yeah, I do think that Patrick Mahomes will win, and I'm not kidding. He'll win at least 7.
Oh, wow. That'd be insane. That would be insane. Look, I love the Chiefs. I love Mahomes. I don't think necessarily it's a dynasty. They've won 1 Super Bowl since what was it? 2019 they won, 2020 they lost, 2021 they lost to the Bengals, right? That's what you just said? They went to Super Bowl. 2022 still TBD. I don't think necessarily it's a dynasty yet. If they win the Super Bowl this year, you can start saying dynasty, right? Dynasties are championships, man. Look at the Patriots. The Patriots were a dynasty. 2 times they were a dynasty. Once you're winning multiple Super Bowls, once you're winning multiple championships, that's when you're in a dynasty. Now, look, don't get me wrong. I agree with what you're saying.
Do you have to go back to back?
Not necessarily back to back, but I'm saying multiple in like 3-4 year spans. Then it's a dynasty, right?
Okay. I can buy that.
I think at minimum 3, if we're looking at the traditional definition of a dynasty, I think you have to get 3 within a certain period of time, and that's a dynasty. Although I feel like dynasty itself is also something that is made up in the sports world, and you could kind of throw it around and be like, well, in 10 years they won 3, that's a dynasty. Sure, okay, I guess. But either way, the playoffs definitely help. If they're consistently going to the playoffs, they're consistently successful, they're consistently in a position to win, and they are consistently in the conversation of dynasty. So yes, I think in this question, you and I are both right. They should be in the dynasty conversation, but they should also have another championship in order to further cement that dynasty tag for sure.
Yeah, and I will say this last thing. Tom Brady played in a different era of football. Now, we talked about how when we grew up, it was Manning, Brady, and Drew Brees, and Ben Roethlisberger. There's like the big 4. Look at if you were to break down the quarterbacks from tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3, there's as many tier 1 quarterbacks as there are tier 1 or tier 2. Look at this list: Mahomes, Allen, Murray, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, Joe Burrow, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Tom Brady. There's like a lot to get through at this point. And then you have your just like starters: Dak Prescott, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Carr, Stafford, Tua, Kirk, Daniel Jones, Pickett, Purdy, Geno, Tannehill. But I just think that first list, and I think that second list is capable of putting up a fight. But if you look at that first list, we've never been in a year like that, where it's like, oh, okay, so like there's a lot of good teams, and it's going to be hard. So my point is like just the fact that he has been in the AFC Championship every year he started means a lot more than it did when Tom Brady went back to back in 2003 and 4. That is like
debatable. We won't get into it. Absolutely. But
that's a great debate one day.
I was going to say, I think after these playoffs, once we get into the preseason, great content, honestly, great debate right there for sure. And we got Bill here, 7. That's big, referring to how many championships you think he's going to win. And he's saying, if you're talking dynasty, he's talking Steelers and Cowboys back in the 70s. Yes, I'm old. Oh, we know, Bill. We know.
The Broncos in 98.
Nobody cares.
Okay.
The Bears back in '85 when I wasn't even born or anything.
The Broncos 2015.
Let's get into the last three here. The first one we're gonna get to is the Bucks. Biggest question here is Tom Brady. Does he return? Does he make a deep run in the playoffs here with the Bucks? And if not, like I said before, does he return? Does he continue playing? Does he retire? What is the feeling around that, Kyle?
The feeling to me is kind of like when your wife tells you that you can go drinking with your buddies and you go out, and then at 10 o'clock, you're like just in the peak of your fun. And she's like, when are you coming back? And then at 10:30, she like gets more mad. And then at 11, she's like mad at you and she goes to bed. So then you're like, oh, okay, she's sleeping. I'm good till 3, boys. Like,
I'm good till 8 a.m., boys. Let's go.
I feel like Tom Brady, like almost retiring, right? It like came to an end. But like now that like Giselle's kind of out of the picture, I feel like he's like, I had a couple more in me.
He's like, I can go till 50 if I fucking want to now.
Yeah, and
I'll still make money off my brand later. Let's go. Let's go.
So I just don't see him like, I don't see him just going out like that after a subpar year. Like, it's Tom Brady. He's in great shape. He's got Botox. He's tan. He's staying, man. He's gonna keep playing. I will say next year it would be a lot harder for me to say that he's. I think the best case would be to send him to San Francisco, and if Brock Purdy wins the Super Bowl, you let Brock Purdy sit behind Tom Brady for Brady's final stretch of years.
No way.
And then Brock Purdy. They're so similar, and the master, the teacher becomes the master. Just kind of. Yeah. I think it makes perfect sense, and it's just an amazing documentary if it happens.
the championship DVD. Kyle's just looking forward to that.
We'll sell it here on Only Football. I'm gonna create it.
It's so funny you say that. My wife's not like that. She definitely lets me go have my fun. But I just, when you said that, I thought back of like an ex-girlfriend, and I was like, what a fucking buzzkill. Anyway, back to Tom Brady. Man, dude, it is rough with him because like that was a perfect example. I'm good till 3, boys. Sorry if you lost me there for a bit, but I was just saying that's a perfect example, like you said. The whole concept of him like no longer, I don't want to say no longer needing to be with his family, but like it's in a sense not having to do that. Now he can play freely. Now he doesn't really have like, should we retire? Should we not? I have to let somebody else in on this decision. He can go for it, right? But oh god, I don't know if he's got any more, man. If this season was telling it all, it's like, dude, you probably should have retired, or you probably should retire. But he comes into next year and he goes 5-1, 6-2, and he's looking like his old self. It's like, wow, we couldn't have been any more wrong, right? Like after he left the Patriots, we're like, he's going to the Bucks. No way. That's it. He's done. How many times have we ruled Tom Brady out in his career? A couple times already, I think. And it's like he just comes back, much stronger. So I don't know. It's really one of those things where you're just like up in the air and you're just like, I have absolutely no idea what is going on. Bill is here. He said you were like top 5 QBs before, but you noticed Brady wasn't in that conversation. Weird. That is a good point.
Well, we said top 3. We said top 3, and
right,
we said,
but we were talking in top 5 too. Like, oh, is Herbert in the top 5? Well, I said he wasn't. Looking, but I don't think we mentioned Brady at all.
Well, we're talking like right now versus legacy. I mean, if I have to start a Super Bowl game and I have an option even between Jalen Hurts or Tom Brady at this year right now, I would rather have Jalen Hurts. I'd rather have Mahomes, Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about the greatest guy to ever lace up the cleats, Tom Brady. Yeah. I mean, I'm down to give respect where it's due, but there's just people playing at a higher level right now, unfortunately for Tom.
True. And Bill's pushing this Raiders narrative. Brady and Adams at the Raiders could be dangerous. Absolutely could. You saw Raiders, what he did.
Yeah, they made it vocal that they want Brady. That's already out.
You saw what he did with what's his face at when from the Vikings, the wide receiver from the Vikings that came to the Patriots for a couple of years. God, what's it? Randy Moss. Randy Moss.
Oh, Randy Moss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I
Who
couldn't
is
think of his
that
name.
guy?
Yeah, who's that one
I
guy?
couldn't either. I was like,
Who's one of the NFL's greatest wide receivers in the ever? God, I can't forget his name. Whatever, we'll move on.
yeah,
So
that would be something.
the next team up, we've got the Eagles and Jalen Hurts. Kyle, what did you have with the Eagles and Jalen Hurts?
Okay. We're talking about the quarterback club, and we read the list of a lot of quarterbacks on here. But some of them said, like, I had Justin Fields as a tier 1 at this point. I just believe in him a lot. I also had
Thank
Deshaun
you.
Watson. But I wrote Jalen Hurts there, and I just want to get some feedback about this because I was really high on them. I think Hurts avoids the injuries. He should be up for MVP. He'll definitely be on the voting sheet. Jalen Hurts in my opinion, turned Philadelphia around from not just like a players and personnel standpoint, but like the attitude. What are the Eagles? Like, who are the Eagles? They have identity, and that identity is Jalen Hurts.
Mm-hmm.
If the Eagles, I would say if the Eagles make it to the Super Bowl this year through the NFC, is Jalen Hurts the best quarterback in the NFC?
If they make it to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think plain and simple, yes.
Wow, that's such a leap in 1 year. Good for him.
It really
he earned
is.
it.
He really did. You look at something like you said, the feat that he accomplished. First round losers last year. And look, the playoffs still haven't happened. He may be a first round loser this year, depending on how the team plays. A lot of us aren't expecting it. A lot of us are expecting Super Bowl. Kyle's like, please, God, no. So we're expecting Super Bowl. If he goes to the Super Bowl, whether he wins or loses, he's the best quarterback in the NFC. Not Dak Prescott, not Tom Brady right now. Let's specify that. Not right now. Not not Kirk Cousins. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Not any of those teams. He's the best quarterback in the NFC right now if he goes to the Super Bowl. Now, if he puts on a great performance and loses, let's say in the divisional round, even in the NFC Championship, I still think he's probably one of the better quarterbacks in the NFC. If Tom Brady goes to the Super Bowl, let's say, right? Like, let's just say Tom Brady, one of the greatest quarterbacks again, he still won't be the best quarterback next year in the NFC. It'll be Jalen Hurts. And that's something I'm confident in Jalen Hurts saying that.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think Jalen Hurts, when he goes to bed at night, if he prays, he's going to be thanking God that he's in the NFC, because you see the AFC going through Mahomes, Herbert, Burrow. I mean, look at the NFC. You try to think of, wait, who's his competition? Oh, Dak?
Tom Brady
Tom
and
Brady?
Dak.
Rodgers?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think I'd rather have Hurts than any of those guys right now. Just that he's an animal, and he's trending the way the NFL is.
Exactly. And Bill would agree. Jalen, another one I would take in a hot second. Absolutely, Bill. 100%. All right, let's finish it off with our last team here, and it's going to be the Jaguars. The very surprising Jaguars. I almost don't want to say very surprising, because when we heard of the Doug Peterson hire, it was like, oh, nice. This team is probably trending upwards now. I think the only surprising thing is that we didn't expect them to win the AFC South. I think me and you both had the Titans. Or no, I'm sorry, the Colts.
Yeah. The Colts are the Titans. One of the other.
Yeah. So the fact that they are the AFC South champs with a home playoff game, very surprising. Now, the question comes up now was, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kyle, like, does this success in a very short period of time for both Peterson and Trevor Lawrence, does it mean more to Trevor Lawrence, or does it mean more to Peterson? If they win, if they don't, they just made it here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the question, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's obviously really big for Doug Peterson because he won a Super Bowl with Philly, and then he kind of fell off a little bit. And then you see Eagles are having so much success without him right now. Usually if someone moves off of, someone that won a Super Bowl. It kind of reminds me of San Francisco moving off of Harborough and then getting Kyle Shanahan. It's like, damn, like they didn't need me. It kind of sucks. So to be able to like get on another team and then turn around the mess that was made and take your team to a division title, I think that's really big for Doug Peterson and his ego and his peace of mind. But I'm going to go with Trevor Lawrence here. Trevor Lawrence was one of the top 4 highest ever graded quarterbacks by, I don't think it was Curb Street. It was the other guy that always rates quarterbacks. It was
yeah. You mentioned you've mentioned him, and I'm forgetting his name too. I'm spacing on his name.
Yeah, but I mean, only guys on that list was Manning, Andrew Luck, and John Elway.
Yeah, it's not Todd McShay, but the other guy, right?
Yeah.
Big hair, the glasses.
Yeah, exactly. So that is like, that's good company, and that's a lot of pressure. And all he did is win. And then he goes to Clemson and he wins. He's in the national championship every year. And I think his first loss was in his second national championship. And then he comes to Jacksonville and all they do is lose. I mean, week after week after week, and the drama, and Urban won't, start the running back, to be able to kind of clean the slate. And then, I mean, I would say like the hype wasn't as high this year. Like, I don't want to say people forgot about Trevor Lawrence, but it wasn't like it was his first year where it was like, oh, everybody watch out. There's a new player on the field. His name's Trevor Lawrence, and he's coming for so the fact that he's able to turn this around, show that kind of improvement that we expected, and then go into the playoffs. This game coming up is going to be probably the most important game he's ever played. It's one thing to play in college and national championships. You're in the NFL and the playoffs, and the world is watching, and you're at the highest level now. Can you be that guy? We'll see.
Exactly. Real quick to Bill's comment, Goldilocks. I love that name. Goldilocks is doing pretty good, but I'd keep Daniel Jones over him. What the fuck in 3, 2, 1. What the fuck? You made good points for both of them, Peterson and Trevor Lawrence. I think I think you went with Trevor Lawrence, and I'm also going with Trevor Lawrence. After the BS that he went through with Urban Meyer the year before, his rookie season, no less. This is the year where you bring this guy. You're an NFL quarterback now. Welcome to the NFL, and you give him Urban Meyer as a coach, and then what transpires after the hire is what transpires. Like, that has got to be so crazy for Trevor Lawrence. So I think this, after the year he went through, is just it. He's probably like, I am in the NFL playoffs in my second year. All I've known is winning, and now I'm finally tasting the winning, right? Like, whether or not he ended up with a losing record in the regular season, you're in the playoffs. That's a win, So I do think it means more to Trevor Lawrence, but I will say for Peterson, the fact that he came into the Jacksonville Jaguars team, again, a team who hasn't been to the playoffs since 2016, and even before then, since like 2009 with David Garrard. It's impressive. It's very impressive with what he's done. Super Bowl winning coach, absolutely, but very impressive with what he's done with what he has to work with. A guy that, his number one receiver is Christian Kirk. The guy that they overpaid that blew up the wide receiver market in the preseason. So I will say I think it means more to Trevor Lawrence, and I think it's just gonna make him want more. It's gonna shoot him in that same trajectory with like Joe Burrow, right? Like, it's just gonna be like, I want more. I want a Super Bowl. I want an NFC champion or AFC championship.
Yeah,
he's gonna want that, and it's just you always want your young quarterback to be that hungry, like a Joe Burrow, like a Patrick Mahomes, like a Josh Allen, all these guys, right? Like, there's so many good examples.
And I have Trevor Lawrence in my tier 2. You bump him over to tier 1, and it's like, dude, there's more, tier 1 quarterbacks in the NFL than there are mediocre and bad quarterbacks. That is just, I I guess that'll help out some of the teams that are, in your opinion, going to be looking. Just remember, you said, just to quote you, you said Kirk Cousins should get the boot, Daniel Jones get the boot, but there's also teams that started Mariota, PJ Walker, Davis Mills, Matt Ryan, Bailey Zappi, and Andy Dalton. So like those teams are going to be probably more aggressive than Kirk Cousins and Daniel Jones. And then they're going to get stuck with the leftovers. And those leftovers may not be better than Kirk Cousins.
No, yeah, you're right. Real quick to Bill, agreed. And that's why the Jags will beat the Chargers. Lawrence can get hungry. I agree. Other than that, though, that's what we have for this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed another long one, almost 3 hours. Again, two Avatar movies. Was not supposed to be, but when Kyle and I get to talking about the playoffs, all the teams with the good storylines with each team, this is what happens. We go for a long time. And I just want to bring up this comment by Bill real quick before we get out of here, before we give our outro. What you guys said about make your scheme fit your players, not make your players fit your scheme, was one of the big revelations for me this year. Like, duh, why is this not the standard? And it's true. I feel like it's kind of starting to turn around now because of the past, right? A lot of things are like, well, Tom Brady can do this. Why not keep having him do this? Well, Tua now, right? A good example, Tua this year can do this. Let's just keep playing to his strengths. So thank you, Bill. Yeah. Appreciate the love there.
Thanks,
appreciate
Bill.
You listening for sure too. But other than that, thank you again for all you guys listening. Big shout out to Bill, to Sports Goat. I'm sorry we didn't get to any of your comments, Sports Goat. Sorry, we were just kind of going along. Tyler, Kyle's brother. Again, Kyle is wine drunk on Wednesday. And then the other Tyler too. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for coming on this stream. And indeed. For joining us on this stream, in the comments, watching us, just being with us here during this very exciting upcoming wildcard weekend. And again, we're going to be streaming a lot of football, a lot of really, really good football. Kyle can't wait. I can't wait. It's going to be a very exciting weekend.
Fasten your seatbelts.
Fasten your seatbelts. Kyle's going to go to the bathroom at least 100 times.
I'm going to have a gallon. I'm just going to have a gallon jug underneath it. Oh, yeah. And you guys, if you're going to be watching this with us, I would say just a little sound advice here. Treat this like a hurricane. Like, go to Walmart, stock up on your beer, your food, like have all your plans made out. It's going to be a long one. It's going to be a long one. This is
bring
like
snacks.
Yeah. Just think ahead of everything that you might need in case you want some liquor, maybe buy a bottle. I don't know what your thing is, but just have it ready.
Bill's loving that you're rocking the shades the whole time. He said it's been funny the whole stream. So I love you. But
playoff edition.
Yeah. So real quick, right up there in the middle of the screen at the very top, you can follow us on Twitter at _star6 media. And you can follow me at @andnowrick on Twitter. Kyle, where can they follow you on Twitter?
Find me at FTBL Only Podcast. Follow me, please. I need people. Like, people are gonna click on the thing and be like, he's got 7 followers. No one's gonna take me serious, man. Just please, if you don't have a Twitter, make one.
Yeah.
If you don't have one, get one.
Give us a follow just for the numbers' sake.
Yeah.
Other than that,
coworkers, get them all to follow.
Other than that, you can follow us at Star6 Media on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitch, and Facebook. We are trying to get our Instagram numbers up to 100 followers. If you guys could help us out with that, that'd be great. We're already almost at 150 subs on YouTube, and that couldn't be possible without you guys. So thank you so much. Other than that, you can listen to all these episodes on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And Bill says, okay, on my way to do the follow. Bill, you're the fucking best, man. You're the fucking best. I don't care how big we get, how small we get. You're always going to be one of the guys whose comments I'm going to read out loud and show on the live stream. So thank you again for following, for watching, for commenting. Kyle, you got anything else before we skedaddle up out of here?
No, that's all I got. Can't wait for another awesome week of football. Stay tuned.
Playoffs, baby. See ya.
See ya.